Welcome to episode 22 of Lost in Translation. As always, with Bobby Martin, I'm Sam Perkins. We're coming to you once again from the WCTV studios in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Joining us today, I'm not even going to say hi to Bobby because this is a pretty cool one, is current actor, former professional basketball player, I think lifelong foodie, lover of great food, cooking, urban exploration, general badassery. Dane DiLiegro, who is famous now for playing the Predator in the movie Prey, although we'll get into the cannot talk about many movies currently because he is a member on the picket lines of the SAG actors and writers strike, which we proudly support. We proudly support unions and writers and getting paid a reasonable wage. But Dane, it is, and Bobby, as always, welcome. But Dane, it's thrilling. It's been a very long time.
Yeah, it has been a long time. It's good to be back in the Commonwealth, the nation, Red Sox nation, dude.
You had a blueberry Dunkin' Donuts donut a little while ago.
A quarter of one.
Yeah. So I'll be a quarter of one, but it's you're getting back in touch with your Massachusetts roots.
Dunkin' does exist in LA. It does, but it ain't the same.
No,
they don't have that dirty water, So I saw, for me, Dunkin' guy. I saw the blueberry cake. It's my favorite. I went for a quarter of it. I had to.
So is Dunkin' as prolific in LA as it is here?
No, because LA is a massive like donut city. And you see Randy's and Tasty Donuts, and there's a donut shop on every block in California, in Los Angeles. It's like they're famous for that. It's really crazy actually. They have very, very good donuts.
It makes me think this is a very minor thing compared to some of the stuff we're going to talk about. But like you're a food guy. You always have been. We'll talk about your journeys with being a midnight snack beast and
former
sandwiches and spending time in prolific restaurants in Italy and all that stuff. And I always see like amazing food in your stories and stuff. But you were talking about how you had a quarter of a blueberry cake donut.
That's right.
So
being
like,
bad.
do you like really watch what you're eating for the most part? And then these are like treats because like you were posting like Dumpling House earlier today or yesterday, and so I always wonder, like, are you one of those you just work out so much you can eat whatever, or do you really have to watch what you eat?
I'm on vacation right now, so for me, and I'm back home. When I'm back on the West Coast, I'm it's I keep it pretty tight. Towards the tail end of my college career, and we can discuss this later, I was a part of something we called the program. And we were on something called the diet. Okay. And it was the strictest thing I've ever done in my life. And the way I guide my culinary intake is based upon that diet. It's just called the diet. And what it was, you can't eat it. You can only eat it if it walks, swims, flies, or is a green vegetable. Or is mustard. That's it.
Awesome memory. It's awesome.
Plain hamburgers. Bun. Like no bun.
No bun.
Just a burger patty with mustard for breakfast and kale I was eating. And you can eat as much as, no peanut butter. You can't eat eggs. That's it. So fruit is out. Any vegetable that's not green is out. Can't eat carrots, too much sugar. I got in the best shape of my life. I went into my senior year. I was like 7% body fat. Because this program is a basketball training program based out of the gorgeous facilities at Waverly Oaks Detention Center, and
no longer there.
And it wasn't a lot of cardio because we did play pickup. We did go up and down, but it was mostly half court stuff. It didn't have to be because this diet kept me so tight. I went in, I stayed the same weight. We trained with this guy named Keith Alpert, okay? And he loved eccentric workouts. And he would count, you're doing pull-ups, you're not doing 20 pull-ups, you're doing 3 pull-ups, and you have a Bobby Martin count of 10, 9, 8. And he gets down to 2 and he gives you 3 twos. 3, 2, 2, 2. This, Bobby. Sorry, can we swear? We can't swear in this.
Swear.
Oh.
Yeah.
3 2 counts, and then you can drop off the. I was jacked. My weight stayed the same, but my body fat plummeted because of this diet.
You know what's interesting is now with the counts, I've changed it from repeating a number. I've advanced. I go from 3 to 2 to 1 to 0.5.
Oh wow.
To 0.4.
Because kids today are so woke.
0.3.
If you don't go down, they'll call you on your bull. By the way, Bobby, I want to congratulate you. I'm happy to see that your Escalade from 1926. You've gotten rid of it. That thing had 450,000 miles on it.
And it was rolling strong.
Man, those axles were tired. Those axles were crying, man. Every pothole in Boston you went over with your big ass. God, I hope you gave that thing away to Cars for Kids. I hope you donated that.
I actually did.
Did you really?
Yeah, Cars for Kids.
I don't want to hear the song, but God bless you. That's man, that Escalade saw it. That thing went to Nam and back.
Yes, it did. Man. Great engine.
Yeah.
I love Cadillac.
Congrats. Yeah, America. America built strong. But that's congratulations on the upgrade.
Oh.
Yeah, that Escalade is famous.
That I remember that Escalade. That was something.
That's seen war. That it was like there's a movie Tom Cruise is in where the day repeats.
Yep.
There's that thing. That Escalade lived that every day for like 45 years. The same thing. Same pothole going down 95, 93 into BU. And, Waltham, they don't do the potholes. So
No,
it's, it's like a minefield out there.
So,
but yes, I keep it tight with my diet, but my diet is based on this diet I was put on in 2010 summer.
So it's funny going back that far. What would you say just overall? Because your journey has been a pretty amazing one when you think of, there have been so many interviews, and I would like to say that I was the first person to do, like, I think a real interview article when you were a freshman at, you've gone on to far bigger and better things than that. But this journey from when you were a kid in Lexington that you used to always say that, like, you were much more into pretending to be a dinosaur than basketball, to Division I scholarship, to very high levels of pro hoops, one of the, if not the best, but now the kid Jalen Smith, I think, he's certainly, if you look where he's playing at from UNH, but up until him, you probably had the best pro career of anyone that's gone through the University of New Hampshire basketball.
Is my number getting retired? I don't know. Probably not. We never won a damn thing. University of No Hardware. But yeah, it's cool. It's cool. And it's interesting. I always like to say I'm just a 6'8" white Jewish kid from Lexington. And, I went through Lexington High School. I didn't make varsity until junior year. We'll take it back even further. The best thing that ever happened to my young basketball career was I got cut from the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade basketball teams. I got cut. I didn't make the Diamond Middle School basketball team. So what I did was I went to the high school and I asked to be the varsity water boy for the basketball team. My dad was friends with the coach, Bob Farias, legend. It's like probably the biggest impact on my basketball career of anybody. And I became the water boy. And I didn't play basketball, but I was around high-level basketball. And Lexington basketball was one of the better teams in Massachusetts. We were taking charges in practice. Just Coach Farias's ethos and style of play was unparalleled. And those 3 years were ingrained into my system. I used this failure to make myself even better. So when it came time to get to the high school, I know Farias's program like the back of my hand. I've already been there. I just did a 3-year internship with him. And was I the greatest player? No. I didn't start at my freshman year on the freshman team. I started my sophomore year on JV, and then finally junior year I made varsity. I don't think I started every game, but I was just your average player. In my senior year, I think. Excuse me, I'm burping. These polar, man. There's such a zing on these
I
things.
know.
Polar beverage. Shout out to Worcester, Massachusetts. These polar beverages are the best. They don't make seltzers like this out in the West Coast.
No, Polar is I love it. I love it.
It's not burping, but I'm going to be erping a lot during this because I'm pulling these things down. So I think I averaged like 9 and 9 my senior year. I was 6'7", 215 pounds, and I wasn't. We had Jimmy O'Keefe on our team, the Gatorade Player of the Year in Massachusetts. He was a 6'3" 5-man, and it was the greatest thing ever because we ran every play through him. Well, he only shot but he shot 50%, which means it's going in half the time. The other half the time, it's coming off the rim. I'm on the other side of the paint. So I had like 7 offensive rebounds a game, all these stickbacks. It was great. And from there, I went to Worcester Academy. And also in high school, the greatest thing my father ever told me was, if you don't make me pay for school, you don't have to get a job. So basketball became my job. And my freshman year of high school, my brother went on, he's a walk-on at Syracuse. And we started going to these games at the Carrier Dome. You played in the Carrier Dome.
Mm-hmm.
What an environment, right?
Absolutely incredible.
You're at 30,000 plus in that place. It's a football stadium that they laid the basketball court down on.
Yep.
And I'm coming from the Ralph Lord Gymnasium in Lexington, Massachusetts, that holds 450 people, to Big East basketball.
When it
Pittsburgh.
was the Big East, yeah.
Well, when the Big East, Pittsburgh, Notre Dame.
No, no Notre Dame at that time, was it?
Was it? Yeah, I remember. Yeah, sure.
Were they in the Big East at that
I think
time?
so, yeah.
Maybe they were. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Georgetown.
Yep.
They're not an original. That's why I just.
They're not original?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll take them out. We'll strike them. St. John's,
Yeah.
Rutgers.
No, Rutgers wasn't
No?
an original. No.
Well, those are the teams
Yeah.
I saw. And my goodness, this is basketball. And did my brother play? No. But I'm still at these games. I'm in the locker room after, and I saw this. Similar to my, water boy experience. It's just being around that. It just puts something in you. And you just see how these dudes carry themselves and walk around and train and their approach. You watch them before the game, how what they're focusing in on, it's special. And like, I was granted those things, and it really helped propel me forward. So I wanted to get a scholarship for school, and I went to Worcester Academy, which helped immensely. Coach Eddie Riley up there gave me an opportunity. I went from 6'7", 215 to 6'8", 235. Don't get me wrong; those schools are prestigious. They're those private, Northeastern schools, but you're an athlete student there.
Yeah.
I mean, you're there to hoop. You're a PG. Everyone knows why you're there, and that's when basketball became really serious for me. I wanted to go to BU terribly, and Dennis Wolf told me I couldn't help them. I wanted to go to Northeastern, not as bad, but I wanted to go. They offered me a 3 for $4, not paying for school, so that's off the table. Merrimack offered me a 3 for $4.
And they were Division II at the time.
Yeah. The only solid offer I had early on was UNH, University of New Haven,
Mm-hmm.
Division II. Took a visit there. And they said to me, we want you to come in and defend, rebound, the whole deal, blah, blah, blah. I come back from my official visit, and I'm telling all my friends, I just went to UNH. Oh my God, UNH just offered me. I didn't say it was New Haven. I said it was UNH. I ended up signing there. UNH, University of New Hampshire, in the spring, initially told me no. And it was Coach Harry and Boss Man's first year, and they only had 3 returning guys. So many people left the team. And their big man, Sam Herrick, left. So UNH came back and said, actually, you can come. And I was like, no. I'm taking an official visit first. So I went there, I did an official visit, Alvin Abreu and I together. And that was my only other offer, was UNH and UNH. And it was my only choice, Division I, that I had. I wanted to go to Pepperdine. They didn't answer my letter. My brother wouldn't let me go to Syracuse. because I probably wasn't getting a scholarship there. And yeah, that was my option. So I went to UNH. My dad, alumni. And I was a very fortunate situation. I started right off the bat. And I didn't know what the I was doing. Like, I don't know. I was a defiant, crazy, like, I entitled 6'8" white Jewish kid from Lexington, Massachusetts. I don't know. And I knew I had to play. I knew I was going to play, I played hard. I was never the most talented guy in the gym, but I knew there was no one who was going to outwork me. And, Coach, you've seen Coach Harion's style of play. He's not throwing the ball in.
No.
This isn't, 4 out, 1 in, let's roll it into Dane and we can just go back on defense. So I had to rebound. I had to defend. That was my thing. We weren't a great 3-point shooting team, but we were a 3-point shooting team.
I know that was one of the staples of those teams up there. He got really, back when I was actually covering the Small America East Conference and stuff, he got really pissed at me because I would ask him hey, percentage wise.
He got pissed at a lot of people.
Yeah, you guys,
it's tough not to be pissed all the
yeah,
time.
I just remember being you think maybe you guys shoot too many 3-pointers based on your percentages and all that sort of stuff, and he got really mad at me.
I will say this, I hand it to basketball coaches, Coach Harion, Coach Bain, Bob. It ain't easy. Coaching is not easy. I'll tell you what, I ain't doing it.
Yeah.
People say, "Oh, you retired. You can go into coaching?" No, I'm not coaching. Why? I was a figure it out guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't take coaching. I can't dish it out. Coaching is so hard. You have a guy who you can't put heart in people. You can't teach heart.
Yeah.
You have a guy who has no pulse, could be talented, looks great in warm-ups, looks great in drills, gets out there, just plays with no heart. How do you put heart into somebody? It's coaching is tough.
One of the craziest things to me in hindsight, and so BU didn't offer Dennis Wolf, and you were there for the end of his career came to an end. They didn't get back, and Dennis Wolf was all about rebound, defend, and that's who you. So it's crazy.
Yeah, should we go over his big man one by one and let Dennis Wolf know how badly he up? Every time you were at the BU game. I don't care if we won or lost. I averaged 16 and 10 against those motherfuckers. Every time we played BU, I made it a point to play well. And I specifically remember there was one instance up in Lundholm in New Hampshire. And every time, because they had Jeff Pelage.
Yep.
I think they had a kid named Will Creekmore at some point.
Yep.
And I would just get the ball and I would just bowl into the middle of the paint and go up and get fouled. And I remember Corey Lowe, after a foul call, they would go, "He's just trying to get fouled every time." You're absolutely right, Corey. And guess what? I kept doing it. And BU was like the game where I was so uber focused, 1,000-yard stare,
Yep.
Don't talk to me before the game. I had to prove a point. I wanted to go there so bad. And being told by Eddie Riley that I couldn't help them, that was that's all I needed. That's all please, anyone who's listening to this, please count me out. All I need is for someone to count me out. Thank you. Because I'm going to use that against you and make you look stupid. That's all I need. Like I said, I'm not the most talented guy in the gym, but I'm going to take that and it will fuel the fire.
When you say that, and I will definitely say that, Dane, one of the hardest workers that I ever saw, and rebounders. And when you look at offensive rebounding is the biggest effort stat in basketball because you don't have positioning, shots coming off the rim. Just by nature, if you're a big man, you're typically posting up with a defender behind you. So you got to go through him, maybe another guy. In the America East, when you're at UNH and they'll play 4 out, 1 in, but the 1 in, all he's there to do is rebound. He's not getting the ball thrown to him.
I was a screen setter.
And the 4 out are just jacking up shots.
I led the league in screen assists, which isn't a stat in college.
You're going to be going through a lot of guys to get rebounds. So that's an effort. But when you say Northeastern and then Merrimack, which was Division II at the time, offered you 3 for $4, what do you mean by that?
I had to pay for it. I would have to pay for a year of school, and then they gave me the next 3 years. And if you look at during and Bert Hamill, rest his soul, the legend, the legend, amazing guy. I'll never my visit into his office. I'll never forget. He said, "Look, you're going to go to all these schools, and they're going to tell you how important school is. All that. You're here to play basketball. I don't care if you have a girlfriend. I don't care if you're a scientist. You're here to hoop." And I was like, "Wow, this guy means business." As soon as 3 for 4 came out of his mouth, I was checked out. I was gone.
So before, because I really want to get into, I still vividly remember I put up a mix years later of the first game of your college career on YouTube.
I still watch that sometimes.
I put that one up. But before we even get into that, tell me about growing up in Lexington. You know, you talked about good basketball. You guys did. I was older than you. I'm older than you. I graduated high school a couple years before you did, but I still kind of followed Cambridge and Latin where I went.
Sure.
And I remember you
drove
guys,
by there today.
Yeah, it still looks like a prison, but
Yeah.
you know, I remember you guys when you were there smacking Ringe, and it was like, I think in the state tournament maybe, or maybe it was just regular season, but it was like, man, this team of like white kids from the
Reese
suburbs.
Freeman.
Yeah, I came in and
Reese Freeman was the point guard.
when you were there, I can't remember now.
Were they any good then?
I mean, Ringe always competed.
We always saw them in the playoffs.
Yeah, they and it was just, you know, you grow up in the city and you go to a majority minority school and you think about, you know.
Yeah, but we had the God's hand of Metco.
Yeah.
We had the Metco program. We were shipping in kids from Roxbury, Dorchester, all the kids that were supposed to go to Madison Park and O'Brien.
Yeah.
They were coming to Lexington. That's why Lexington was so good.
It's true, but you guys have had some homegrown hoopers that have played overseas
True.
too.
That's true.
Which is not exactly common for a small, a suburban school in Massachusetts. So there's a pretty epic pipeline. I actually drove by the high school and saw they're completely redoing the outdoor courts. They're all torn down, and
that's where I heralded a lot of when my dad told me don't get a job. Those center courts, middle of summer, 90 degrees. I'd be sometimes the only one out there shooting. And and they dedicated those courts to Coach Farias. Yep. Those are the Farias courts now. But I'm glad. It's nice to see they're putting money into those.
The great thing about there, even when I was in high school, is they leave the light. I don't know what they'll do with the new courts, but they would leave the lights on, so you can go there and play. You shoot whenever.
Well, it's smart for a town. You want your high school team to be good. Leave the lights on at the court, for God's sake. It's like when you're turning off the court, you're turning off hoops. Yeah. So.
What was it like growing up in Lexington? Because it's always a kind of to me, because I grew up in the city and I never really got to experience the suburbs other than going out in the summer occasionally. And I know Lexington well as far as a city kid knows it, because there was a lot of stuff to go out to get away from the city in that area. But what was life like growing up in Lexington?
Yeah, I won't lie, it was pretty comfortable. I was very very fortunate to have grown up in Lexington. My mom just sent me an article today. The top 50 high schools in America. There's only one.
I saw that this morning. There's only one in
from the Northeast.
Right is it Northeast? Okay.
It's Lexington.
Lexington High, right?
And we were always good. We were always pretty good. I think we have like a 99.6% graduation rate, and the student teacher ratio is 13-1, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
My dad's from Somerville, Massachusetts. My mom's from Revere, Massachusetts. My dad has a physical education degree from University of New Hampshire, and he grinded his ass and, had his whole Nike deal. And he moved to Lexington early and, very fortunate. I had a very nice upbringing. The biggest argument I've ever seen my parents have is where we're going to dinner that night, what restaurant we're going to. And, pretty much alcohol-free house, no parties, no issues, no nothing. My brother Ross is 4 years older than me. My sister Dara's 5, and pretty standard. Maybe even boring on paper, but I lived a pretty supported life. And to be at Lexington and eventually Worcester Academy, very fortunate to have that system under me. And yeah, it was definitely interesting.
When did you head to Worcester Academy?
I graduated high school in 2006, and then I took the extra year. I just wasn't ready. Okay. And I wanted to be a scholarship guy. At 6'7", 215 as a 4 or 5, no one's offering me a scholarship at that point.
Oh, was that still Jamie Sullivan?
Jamie Sullivan was our assistant. Jamie Sullivan, Dan O'Sullivan was our big man coach, and Coach Eddie Riley was our head coach. He was also the director of athletics there. Worcester is crazy because you're going from a 2,800 person school to a 400 person school where you're wearing a suit and tie every day, and there's like rules and stuff. And you, Sam, you know about me and rules.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a little bit. But a question I had for you is, so the prep school experience is one thing.
Gunshots going to bed. It was loud.
Yeah.
And it was interesting too. The transition from going to Worcester, Durham, New Hampshire is so quiet. I was used to city sounds and gunshots and honking and people screaming. And then you go to Durham and it's super quiet. I couldn't fall asleep. But during summer school, my ears were ringing,
It's just the crickets out there.
Yeah. But Worcester Academy on Providence Hill, you got the fence and you're inside your little mini college campus there. And outside that fence, man, it's tough. It's a tough area.
Did you ever get off campus to go see, were you, because now you are an adventurer. Were you an adventurer back then? Did you, Worcester
I feel like you're leading into something here.
No, I'm just curious. I lived in Worcester and I loved it when I was
you don't know
there,
what happened when I was at Worcester Academy?
No, maybe I did, but I'm forgetting. It's been so long. What happened?
My senior project was about the abandoned state hospitals of Massachusetts.
That's right.
And I highlighted Metropolitan State Hospital, all these hospitals that they cut budgeting in the 90s and they vacated and they just left. They called them state hospitals, but they were psychiatric institutions, and they just left everything there. So, me, urban explorer who likes to go into decaying and abandoned and forgotten things, around cities, specifically psychiatric hospitals. In October, I went into Worcester State Hospital and I was with my teacher and we got arrested. Trespassing with intent to commit a felony, which is arson, because there had been fires in that building. And there was a giant fence you had to climb and, then you get in the building. And it's so stupid. We shouldn't have went in. And I was taking photos. I was documenting this building. And then we saw the cop car outside and she was like, we should go. It was her and her friend and myself. You can imagine the rumors that were swirling around school after this happened. But
you're a crackhead.
What's that?
You're a crackhead hanging out now.
No.
I think something nefarious going on with the teacher.
Yeah. Not a crackhead, but they thought I was cracking her.
Yeah.
Wasn't happening. I should have hopped the fence and let them go and then ran in the other direction because they were to go talk to the police officer. I should have just ran away. But yeah, we got arrested. The school let her go. I spent the day locked in the headmaster's office. They didn't know what to do with me. And, it was pretty crazy. And then she was like the fan favorite teacher. That was wild. That was really, really wild. It was the only time I've ever been arrested. And I was in lockup for 12 hours in Worcester, doing push-ups. It's crazy. They had the phone is in the cement of the wall. And if you want to make a collect call, you hold this button down for an operator. And then it's just the earpiece and then the mouthpiece in the cement. And I push it and go, excuse me, what time is it? It is 3 a.m. Okay, thank you. And then, hang up. Because crazy. Yeah.
Who did you call your parents from there?
No, I called my sister. I was too scared to call my parent. My dumbass 17-year-old thinking Frank DiLiegro is not going to find out I got arrested with my teacher. And they found out. They found out. But it was a tough time. It was a tough time. But no charges, nothing. Technically, she shouldn't have gotten fired because they didn't find anything for us. Yeah. This police officer was just trying to make an example. We were in there for a student project, but shouldn't have been in there. But
the record expunged.
Yeah. I think so. I hope so.
Was there? Do you feel like that incident? I know already you were rough around the edges player and everything, but do you feel like that compounded how hard it was to get? Do you think that worked against you?
No, I don't think anyone knew about that. But that does speak on my character on the court of just the rules don't really exist to me. And I've kind of always been like that. The word I still use very often that you introduced to me was irreverent. It's kind of doing whatever I want.
So, I still remember when we went urban exploring in Waltham.
At Fernald,
in Waltham.
the Fernald School.
And that was an
Fun
experience.
fact: my dad used to work there.
Really?
As a gym teacher. Yeah. Crazy.
I have a love for decaying things and kind of post-apocalyptic looking things, but even for me that was pretty. I was like, oh my god, the floor could give out underneath us. No one would know that. I
was texting with Bill the other day. I was like, should we go do something? He's like, oh man, we can't. It's tough now. You get arrested when you're 17 for breaking into a hospital. Like, stupid kids,
Yeah.
You get arrested at 35 for breaking into a band. What were you doing here?
Exactly.
I was just checking out. No, you weren't. Like everyone's just looking for a reason to cancel someone. So that's an article waiting to happen. Is me getting arrested. It's just not worth it anymore. Stealing copper. No, don't do that.
So you get up to UNH and it's a different world, and you're playing for Wild Bill up there, who started wearing like Nike. First it was like dry fit shirts underneath his
thought I was
shirt and
sweaty.
tie,
and
then he just gave up when it was like mock turtlenecks and no shirt and tie. He gets a little into it on the sidelines. What was that experience like when you get up there for him? And I still remember your first game ever. You just went up and just dunked it on 2 like 7-footers.
John Oates. John Oates and the transfer. He was a transfer from Florida State.
Sutherland, was that his name?
No, it was Sutherland. No, Sutherland was on the team.
Terrell Blair.
Terrell Blair. Terrell. No, it wasn't. But Blair. Maybe it was Blair. Oh, because no, it was Shamari Spears was out.
Okay.
And Tyrese Rice were out because I'm not going to mention any names. But someone snitched on them that they played in an unsanctioned game in the off season. I'm not going to mention any names. Anyway, so
his initials were.
Yeah, we're gonna edit that one out. We're gonna edit it. Yeah, it's Juan Carlos Barrea. Anyway, so they were out. Yeah, in my first career points was dunk. That game was crazy. I blacked out. I think I had like 10 and 11 or something.
You did, and I remember it was like before that game, people were talking about UNH and that maybe they've got a pretty decent post player in like James Valadares, and then it was like Dane DiLiegro just dunking on everyone and just rebounding everything.
Yeah, that was a fun game, even though we lost by 10. We cut it pretty close. Excuse me, the polar. But Coach Heron was never big on like moral victories, but there were definitely a bunch of positives he took out of that. We were like 3-1, I think, but UNH, we always played these bunk ass teams in the preseason. We're playing Division III teams, Leslie, Suffolk. Come on, man.
Just senior year, you were playing UConn. Right?
We did. We lost to UConn by 4. Jim Calhoun pushed the red button under a seat. Came, crunch time. And then they went on to win the Maui Invitational, and then they won the national championship. But we came close. Alex Oriaki. I remember that UConn game. I still have a scar on my neck from Tyler Olander scratching, like clawing at a rebound. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun, and it was UNH was a special place. It's a great campus. It's not a very sport heavy school, but it's a great all around overall school. 15,000 people, Durham, New Hampshire, great place to be. Pretty good culture there, and I'm grateful. I wish, looking back, I have a degree in tourism and business. I wish I studied like sustainable agriculture, something they really specialized in, something that I could that's like important. I wanted to open up a chain of surfboard rental shops in Waikiki, Hawaii. That's what I wanted to do. I'm not kidding. I wanted to do that. And then I realized someone came up with that before me.
Well, I mean, at least it wasn't Maui.
Right. Oh God. Yeah. I wish I was a double major, sustainable agriculture and theater, which we will get into later. But I really wish I had a theater degree. But yeah, and then like I said, going into my senior year, I remember my junior year, the first and only time we ever played in the Agganis Arena. I think that's when I met Bobby. Yeah. Tony met you. Were you at that game?
He was. I think he was.
Was Corey there then?
Yeah.
Corey, he was at BU at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
because he was a year, he would have been a senior when Dan was a senior.
And then, that's how the program came into my life.
I know also that you had that Italian citizenship, so that's great because you have doors that are already open from that.
But for me, it was great because Wayne taught me how to shoot free throws up and through, and he taught me this whole you want to know something really funny? Every time I shot a free throw in my pro career and it went in, I always backpedaled and said, "Thank you, Wayne."
That wasn't worth 20%?
No,
No, okay.
because I was a 60% free throw shooter. But I would have been lower. But it was, I just, that was a tough. I still think about that, the way that turned out to this day. But I made some amazing friends through Julian Vaughn, Jason Love, Justin Harper. Those are still Corey Lowe. Those are still all my boys. And just that program did the diet was great for me.
Do you still think back, because your junior year, the way it ended, if my timeline is, maybe it was your sophomore year, actually. All right, this is showing my age. No, it was Tyrese Gibbs' senior year. That would have been your sophomore year?
Tyrese Gibbs' senior year was my sophomore year.
Okay,
correct.
so it was your sophomore year was the closest that UNH has ever come to, because you guys are up. That
was at the Binghamton? You're talking about Binghamton? When Radar threw it to Tiki Mabin?
That's exactly
just
what
gave him the ball.
Yeah, that was, you guys were up with like less than a minute 30 left, and UMBC had upset BU.
Right.
So you were a minute 30 from hosting the championship game, and then that play by Radar, and not to throw him on it, but it just was like,
don't throw him under the bus. I think because Coach Harrington drew up a play, and Radar, who's from Cameroon, I think he interpreted that play as, okay, I'm going to take the ball and just give it to the other team. And that's exactly what he did. So the plan in his head worked perfectly. That was his agenda. And I said, I'm just going to throw this ball away. I think we're up 2 with like 8 seconds. I think we were 8 seconds away.
It was something astronomically small. I remember against that Binghamton stack team, and you guys had.
They had Tiki Mabin. They had some dude
Malik Alvin. They had DJ Rivera.
Yeah, they had 3 major D1 transfers. They were like an AAU team. Who's the coach? Kevin Broadus.
Yeah, it was Broadus. It was Broadus. And then that off season,
it's funny. Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg's real name is Kevin Broadus.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, really?
But that off season, everything fell apart. Broadus got fired. It was like there was all that sort of
like
but that was a stacked team.
I remember because UMBC won, and I remember Coach Moore was talking about like removing all the workout equipment from the upper level of Lundholm and putting stands up there, and I was like, oh, that would be cool. But this is Binghamton. We're probably not gonna, and then we had the game.
Yep. You guys
threw it away.
I could not believe, like, it was literally like they're gonna win. Like, I really liked that team that you were on. Just like, I mean, I wasn't a part of it, but like, but just from the outside looking in, like Alvin Abreu, great guy. You look at that roster and have never been there before. You guys were all sophomores, were young, and it's this could be a game changer. You make the championship game, you guys are gonna win at home, probably. I mean, Daryl Proctor was a monster on that UMBC team, but you're playing at home. And you're playing at home. You guys are going to win that game. And that as sophomores, you go dancing. UNH has never done that. I'm going to bring up a source, but I remember Tyrone Conley had an insane dunk in that game.
He did. That's right. And I think, did Colby go off? Maybe Colby went off a little bit.
Yeah. Colby did go off.
Yeah, and then Radar, the only 6'3" 5-man in the league. He was an 8th year senior, whatever he was. I love Radar. He's my brother. But God, man, come on.
Yeah, I mean that clip is out there somewhere. That pass. I mean, it was just.
Oh, yeah, I haven't looked at that in a long time. That was.
I wouldn't recommend it.
We were in Albany. I remember that. My goodness, yeah, that was rough. That was very rough. And then I went on to Israel. But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
So all these years later, because there was, I think, a lot of, I would say that probably you and Coach Harrington didn't have the best relationship when you were there.
Absolutely not.
All these years later, what would you say about that?
All right, so here goes. And he knows this. I went up to school last year and actually spoke to the team, and he was like, what happened to you? I
was shocked when I saw that posted, by the way, that you up there. I was like, I didn't think you and him could ever coexist in the same room again.
Yeah, well, it took me starring in a freaking movie and being 10 years removed for them to like acknowledge that I went to school there. But here's the deal. I went to UNH. I was never super talented. I was probably underutilized, which is fine.
That's very safe to say.
Yeah. And another thing, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but one thing that really did bug me, I'm airing it all out tonight. My senior year, up until my senior year, we always voted for captains. Now, I'm a 3-year starter going in. And I remember my senior year, we just mysteriously didn't vote for captains. And they just said, we're going to pick who the captains are. And I'll never forget, they brought me up into the office with James Valderas as well. And they said, we're not going to make you captains, but that doesn't mean you can't be a leader. What?
I can't imagine that going over well with any college athlete.
No. And I was just like, that was crazy. That's crazy. Coach Herring and I, during the season, never really got along well. I was never great at understanding the line between like friends, coach. And listen, I wasn't the easiest guy to coach in the world. I had been thrown. If they gave out fines in college, I would have been in the negative. If you go up to Lundholm to this day, I don't know, maybe they fixed it. In the back left corner of the gym, there are 2 storm doors coming out of the gymnasium that go into the hallway to the stairs down into the dungeon. The right storm door, there's, you push the bar to open is bent. It's bent in the middle part. From every time I got kicked out of practice, I would walk up to the door and big show boot that door open with my foot. And over time, it would just, and it was bent in a little bit from how many times I kicked that door from being kicked out of practice. I was not the easiest guy to coach. I was defiant. I did not like authority. Don't get me wrong, but I did play and work hard. I did. So it was an interesting trade-off. Now, I graduated, second all-time leading rebounder or whatever. And I went on to play for 8 years. I was in Italy for 7 years. I was in Israel, top leagues, all that. When I was in Sassuolo, we were like number 3 in Europe for a stretch of time. We had Travis Diener, we had Bootsy Thornton, Drake Diener was on our team, Drew Gordon. We had a squad. Setting screens for Travis Diener was the most fun I've ever had on a basketball court in my life. I for sure led the league in screen assists. It was so easy detaching someone's lung who was guarding Travis Diener, and he's just coming off my screens. He's hitting the 3, or he's throwing an alley-oop to Tony Easley. It was amazing. It was incredible. And being on that team in Sardinia, my first year, I drove a 1992 Fiat Marea. I went to Sassari. They gave me like a BMW X6. We were in Euro Cup. Like, we're going to Serbia. It was amazing. It was unbelievable. And all those years in Italy and Israel, and I tore my ACL the second game of the season in Israel, came back to Siena, averaged like 13 and 11. I don't know, you just change. And when money's on the line, it's just different. And you go pro, it's interesting. You're in high school and there's like a group of people you have to be good with to get to the next level. And the next level, everyone you're with was in that good group at high school. So then in college, you have to be in the good group of that good group of people to go to the next level, right? And in the pro, like, there's an even better group of that good group of the good group that you have to be really good in to keep advancing. It's really hard. And like, the higher up level in competition you get, it gets really lonely because everyone is just more and more out for themselves. Bobby knows this. When you're in a team and you have a dude in your team making X amount, 6 figures, high 6 figures, and he's a family to provide for, do you think he gives a about your livelihood in the long run? Probably not. So a lot of people are out for themselves. You're on teams where if you're not producing, you're gone. You're gone in 2 seconds, and there is 4,500 other people they will find to replace you who will gladly do it in 2 seconds, who are sitting at home in Saratoga Springs, whatever, who will gladly get on a plane and fly to Italy or Spain or Russia or whatever and take your spot from you. So you got to learn, if you're defiant, if you don't like authority, you're going to learn real quick how to live with authority and people telling you what to do at the pro level. So for me, I'm not a guy who can rely on my talent. As I've said, yes, hard work is nice, but hard work and 50 cents gets you a cup of coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. That's about it. So I learned real fast. And when I went back to school last year to talk to the team, and I explained to them, look, here's the deal. It's all privilege to be here. Everyone that's on scholarship right now this is a privilege to be here. If you want to be successful in life, in anything, on the court, in an office, on a stage, wherever, the person that employs you, your boss, it is your job to make them believe that you are bought into their system. If that person does not believe in you, you will not be successful. You need to show up every day, early, do your job, shut the up, and that's it. And be happy. Say yes and be happy, because that's what it boils down to. If Coach Herron, any coach knows that you're a guy that he can put in the game and is going to produce for him and give him results that will help the team, more often than not, you're going to play. You're going to be successful. And that's what it boils down to. Know your job, be really good at it, do it better than anyone else does, and say yes to. That's really what it boils down to. Whether you're in an office, I have one tattoo on my body. It says work harder. It's on my wrist. It's not going anywhere. Why? Because your job is never done. My fourth year overseas, I was in Israel. I had a great girlfriend. I just signed a huge contract. I was so content with my life. I forgot. I lost it. I tore my ACL second game of the season against Jerusalem. Tony Gaffney was on that team, actually. Big Sofa was on Tel Aviv. But 2 days before that, my girlfriend broke up with me, and I tore my ACL. I've lost everything. I took it all for granted. You're never finished. Your job is never finished. You're always a student for the game. Work harder at being better every single day. You have a girlfriend, make her fall in love with you every day. Because if you don't do that, she's going to fall in love with someone else, right? Basketball, you need to make basketball fall in love with you every day. Because if you don't, someone's going to beat you. You need to wake up every morning. I even do this with acting. And I probably take it to an extreme because I'm so competition hungry and I'm so sports based. You look at the entertainment industry, there's not a lot of sports people. I'm so competition based that it can be off-putting to people. I wake up every single day and I think about all the people who are in my position that want what I want. It is my job to beat each and every single of those people every single day. What are they doing? Okay, are they working out and getting in better shape? I need to be in better shape than them because I'm not talented. I need to be the hardest working guy in the gym. So it's up to me to outwork all these people who are going after the target on my back. I don't care if you're in an office, on a court, wherever. That has to be your mantra every single day. And it's interesting. So, okay, I'm an actor now. Basketball and acting, not too different. You come in every day, your producer, that's your GM. Your coach, that's your director. Your teammates, those are your castmates, right? On the court, I was a role player. In a movie, you have a role, right? I'm not a superstar. Superstar on a court, superstar on a call sheet in a movie. If I show up to set and I start acting like a superstar, there's gonna be a lot of head scratching going on. If I show up to practice and I start jacking threes, there's gonna be a lot of head scratching going on, right? So knowing what I do, everyone who's on a court or on stage with me is there for a reason. When you're at that high of a level, there's really no one there by coincidence or mistake. The people who are there because they're really good at what they do, and they are brought there for that reason, right? So you don't question that. The higher the level you get, especially. So I'm brought onto this movie to do this specific thing, do my job. That's it. You say yes, Dane, we need you to jump off this building. You're on fire, and convey this message to the audience, whatever. Great. Sure. That's my job. because the second I question it, they're going to get someone else who will do it, who won't question it. That's kind of it. And, you know, boiling that down, that's what I told the team last year, to like, you know, be about being bought into a system and understanding how things work. And, you know, you're all just a piece of a giant jigsaw puzzle. And as the competition level gets higher, the jigsaw puzzle gets bigger and the pieces get smaller. You're just a smaller piece in this giant puzzle. If you start trying to fit your piece in spots that aren't where you belong, it's going to get real screwy. More or less, that's kind of what it boils down to. And I wish I knew now, like what I like when I was at UNH. Would have been so different. I would have like worked on my threes and stuff and like tried to improve. You know, I would have listened more. If I was just easy to coach, I probably would have played more and been. I mean, I missed the all-time leading rebound record by 24 rebounds. Why? Because I got suspended for 3 games. Why did I get suspended for 3 games? I had a fake parking pass that I was using during winter break that my SID photocopied. And the team athletic trainer snitched on me.
I remember that, and I knew that it was Copland, and
he texted me the other day.
I kept my mouth shut about that one. I never said, because he was a good dude, man. He was
great guy.
I worked with a lot of the SIDs. He was one of the real good guys.
What's that? Why did he snitch?
No, no. Copeland was our SID. Barbara, I don't remember her last name. This woman, I'm praying for her wherever she is right now, or whatever she's doing. I'm praying for her because I hope things work out. If she carried her way she carries herself the way she did when she was at UNH, I don't know where she is right now. But yeah, I parked in the faculty parking lot because I didn't want to trudge through snow in Durham, New Hampshire, from the main public parking lot. So I parked in the faculty parking lot. Why? Because our SID photocopied his parking pass for me. Okay. No harm, no foul. I'm not in anyone's way. It's winter break. She saw that and she snitched on me to the AD. And they brought me in the office and boss man was like, yo, we got to report this. Bro, Kentucky's like paying their players 50 grand, 70 grand. It's a
allegedly.
Man. I'm talking about a parking pass. A parking pass. NCAA forced me to pay the value of that parking pass for however long to a charity of my choice. I walked into a food shelter and said, here's a $100 check. What? Just don't ask. Just accept it, you know? And then but I need a receipt. I have to prove that I gave it to you. I gave it back, suspended for 3 games for violating team rules. I'm at the Vermont game and, you know, Evan Fjeld came up and he's like, bro, what happened? Someone said you were dealing drugs. Dealing drugs? Wow. I had a parking pass.
Them Jewish kids, man. Boy, you got to watch them guys.
Crazy.
Man. Selling drugs up in school.
But you know what? But like, that would never fly today. That would never fly today. You can't make me pay. Like,
yeah.
No. And also, like, that's the most ridiculous thing to get reported. But anyway, so I was averaging 8.8 rebounds a game. I missed 3 games. I missed the all-time leading rebound record by 24 rebounds. You do the math. Barbara will forever be ingrained in my brain as the person, you know, oh, but Dane, you shouldn't shut the up. It's New Hampshire. Yeah. Live free or die. Okay. I parked. I didn't want to walk through snow. Sorry. Eric Copeland was my roommate on the road. Our SID was my roommate on the road. Whatever. By the way, UNH, they just made the director of basketball operations position voluntary.
Oh my
That's insane.
I love you guys, UNH. But if you want to be taken seriously as a Division I program, you can't have a voluntary SID. Dobo. Can't do it.
As an aside, did you hear about the hiring process after they got rid? Now, don't get me wrong. Bill had, I would say that the talent that he brought in, I don't think anyone would argue that he got the most out of the talent.
Sure.
If you look at your class was amazing. You, sure. Alvin Abreu, you know, just that whole class, Ronnie Chichua, who didn't last, but incredible athlete, Tyrone Conley, incredible athlete.
Yeah.
But then the classes after, like they had a team that had this kid, Tanner Leischner and Jalen Smith, Jalen Smith is a borderline NBA guy. I mean, he's playing in the Euro League. He's playing in, They had Jacoby Armstrong, who was really good. Like, he brought in a lot of talent, did not get the most out of it. There's no way around that. But if you make the move to not bring him back, he had longevity and job security that that coaches can only dream of for the most part in the college game to not really win.
Right.
So I'm not here like Bill got totally but if you get rid of him and you replace him with a dude who 4 out of the last 5 years at Bucknell lost 20 or more games, that's your hire. Bucknell, the one school in the Patriot League that really cares about hoops and really supports hoops.
Yeah.
And you lose 20 or more games 4 out of your final 5 seasons there, and that's who UNH brings in as the replacement. Like, that's the big hire.
They should have brought back Alvin and Tyrone.
Yeah.
and Tyrese. No, I don't know the coach. I've never talked to the guy. I wish them the best of luck. I will support the team always. I'll be more than happy to go up there and talk to the team whenever they want. I don't know. I mean, I really hope he does a good job. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. So I don't know. Maybe there's something in the New Hampshire air that he breathes in and it helps him, whatever. Who knows? But I will say UNH is a very, very, very difficult place to be successful in basketball wise. The facilities are not great. They're doing okay, but it's just not structured that way. It's hockey first, then football, then basketball gets a little bit of the trickle down. And it's funny, on my official visit, they took us into the Whittemore Center where the hockey team plays. Me and Alvin, they go, this is where the hockey team plays, 3,500 people, whatever that, huge arena. We'll get a couple games here a year. Sure. Sign the contract. By the way, we sold that court 3 years ago.
Yeah, they sold the floor there. They Matt Bonner's senior year, they came to play a homecoming game there, and that was the last game they played at the Whit. And I don't know when they played one there before that.
There was a poster on the wall of the locker room of that game, like a wide angle shot, which I stole. I have it in my Los Angeles apartment now on the wall. People come in, they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, that's the basketball arena my college team played in, 8 years before I got there. And the James Valderas came to visit me, and he put up a sign that said Baines Promise.
Oh man!
No, we never played but they play in a field house.
Yeah, it's not...
just. I will say the odds are stacked against you there, and I'll never forget when we lost to UConn. We came back. They damn near threw a parade for us because we lost by 4. We lost. We lost the game.
I will say,
but you guys played really well.
We did.
Yeah.
That was a really good game.
I'm not gonna get too far into it because I really don't mess with the America East much these days at all. But I will just say that what I know, because people hit me up because people still think I seem to know something about the conference or know people or whatever. There were some coaches with real, legitimate resumes that reached out to UNH when Bill was not renewed and couldn't even get a call back from the athletic director.
Wow.
Like Will Brown, who took Albany to 5 NCAA tournaments, reached out. They didn't call him back. Some big-time Ivy League assistants. A prep coach that is in the area up there that has built the premier prep program in the nation reached out to them because he felt like he'd done kind of everything at that level, didn't get a call back. So that's, I would say the sibling of a longtime NBA player who is involved in NBA at this point, coaching, development, all that sort of stuff, reached out, didn't get a call back. So if you're not even going to kind of kick the tires on some of these people that are, if that one doesn't work out for that athletic director, that's kind of a big matzo ball right there.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I don't know this new, I dealt with Marty Scarano during my time at UNH, and he was a perfectly fine athletic director. I don't know this new athletic director. Again, like I said, coaching, business, not my jam. I don't know how all of that works, and their decisions on how to navigate certain teams and the direction of that athletic program is obviously their choice. And I'm grateful and thankful for my time there and my scholarship that was given to me. I wish I made more money and I could donate it to the athletic department and the basketball team to kind of lift them up, because I know they need it. But yeah, it's New Hampshire. It's funny, all the games I played in overseas, you're at someone shooting free throws, and you've got I don't know, Justin Burrell next to you or whoever lining up next to you. You know, and the Americans always bonded, you know. Yeah. Where are you from, man? No, I'm from Boston. That's cool. Where'd you go to school? I went to UNH. We're Division One. Where's that? New Mexico? No, New Hampshire. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're Division One. We're in America East, America Least. Oh, sorry, America East. Yeah, I have to remind people that we were Division One. And what got even more sad is the last couple of years I had to say we're in the same league as UMBC. That team that upset Virginia. Like, oh, that's the team. That's the team that I'm like using as a reference to like, oh, cool, UMBC, who were like 2 and like 28. Oh God, yeah. I don't know. It's college athletics. I'm not in that business. It's tough. It's super competitive, and it's not a business I want to be in. But you know, I do wish UNH a lot of success, and I hope I can go up there and talk to the team and inspire them. You know, so we'll see. You guys can't have a voluntary Delbo.
No, that's
who's booking the hotels? The head coach.
Yeah.
He's calling up the Marriott and using his points.
Maybe that's how he got such a big raise. Is they were just like, we're not going to pay the over what Bill was making. You know, was it weird seeing Tyrese Gibbs as an assistant when you went?
No, it's great. I was like, this is amazing. Keep it, you know, homegrown. Yeah. I wish, you know, he stayed on. I wish he was still there. I miss having a connection with the team now. You know, Ken Dempsey works in the front office, and you know, he's not as involved with the team anymore. But you know, it'd be nice to go back and see some of my old people. But
I feel like Alvin Abreu's could be their head coach someday with what he's doing.
You know, he's on a great track. What he's doing.
Where is he now? At a prep school?
No, he's at Lynn English. Yeah, he's turned them into a contender.
Yeah, he's doing a very good job, and he's a guy. He is basketball. He you know, I was a figure it out guy. He was not. He was a numbers and X's and O's guy, and he just lived for hoops, man. He just like, you know, he went to the prep school like Boys to Men.
Yeah,
that was
like Chicago.
Yeah,
right?
They got like shut down because they weren't even going to class. It was just like a 10-month AAU program.
Okay, all
right. But yeah, he knows it. And he's always been a leader, and you know, Alvin, you know, we still text to this day. I could definitely see him as a head coach, and I really do hope he becomes a college coach someday. But who knows, right?
So how long? We haven't even gotten into act because this is the conversation.
Yeah, we barely touched the pros.
I know. How long into your pro career? Because I followed from afar. You know, I will say this show that me and Bobby have, I've made some apologies to different people that we've had on, like Q, a coach that I assisted. I owe you an apology. I never got that video finished for you. That has hung over my head.
I still think about that
for years. Me too. There's a lot going on in my life. Divorce, other stuff, but that is a big regret of mine, is that because that was awesome. I love Alexander's Billy, you know, over there. It's clearly you didn't.
We shot a lot of clips. He came on an exploring adventure with me. I took him into Fernald School, and bunch of abandoned like buildings, and then I cooked in like behind the sub shop. I made this massive breakfast sandwich, and like the thing for me, because. So about halfway through my career, I was really hell-bent. So the travel thing, I wanted to open up the surfboard rental shops. And then they were like, oh, basketball, you should play. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to go play. I was still hooked on travel. And I wanted, you know, if you're not in the 2% of basketball players that don't have to work after, you got to get a job. And I decided I wanted to host culinary travel television, unscripted culinary travel television. I wanted to be the next Anthony Bourdain. And I was going to LA every summer to pitch these shows, to work these shows. And every time they said that you need content, you need a following, you need this, you need that. You have to show us a sizzle reel. You know, I'm from Boston. I don't know. I can't get like a film crew of people. It's hard. It's not easy to make a sizzle reel, you know? Mm-hmm. And then, you know, I was so desperately wanted Sam to make this documentary or whatever. I think he made a trailer.
I did. I made a trailer. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, it'll highlight my life. It'll show all these interesting things I do. And it just never got finished. And I just so desperately needed like content of myself. And it was like, so, but we did get some cool stuff. I'm sure that footage exists somewhere.
Oh, it does. It's somewhere. But that's literally one of the things, like, my anxiety is crazy for a million different reasons. That's plenty of it's for no reason. But that's one of the things that has hung over me for years is, man, I never got done for Dane. That was, and now if it was now in life, exists. I churn stuff out all the time. Even
watch when I get my Marvel movie, that footage will become.
Oh, it will. It'll be all over the internet. The Fernald, everything. I'll be selling it.
Yeah.
But how long into your
this podcast is sponsored by Polar Beverages.
How long into your pro career did you start seriously thinking about next steps? I know you talked about like you're smart guy, and you realize that, hey, it's like 1% of 1% of 1% of 1% are the basketball players that never have to do anything after basketball. How long into did you really start thinking, hey, I'm getting closer to the end than the beginning of my pro career, and I should probably figure it out?
It was less. It was less me thinking about I'm getting to the end. I wanted to hit 10 years. How many years did you play?
Almost 15.
So I wanted to get to 10. 15 that's tough.
Time.
That's a long time. I mean, what's the average? Like 6?
I have no idea.
5 or 6. I wanted to get to 10, and I was going into Israel. I just signed that big contract. I think that let me see. Bastuni, Sassari, Trieste, Israel, my 4th year. And I was like, so here's the deal. I love basketball. I've always loved basketball. Was it my passion? I don't know. It kind of just like became my passion the day my dad told me, you don't have to get a job if you don't have to make me pay for school. And it just kind of like was this thing that became a part of me.
Mm-hmm.
Did I grow up with basketball players posters on my wall? No. I wanted to be a wrestler. I wanted to be a spy. I wanted to be everything else. Excuse me. But a professional basketball player. I never wanted to do that. And like I said, things change when money's on the line. And it was, I love basketball. This is what I tell everyone. Basketball was this girl that I dated for 27 years. We went all around the world. I gave her blood, sweat, and tears. I gave her everything. We had ups, we had downs, we had amazing memories. I gave her so much. But I always knew we were never getting married. She was moving away at some point. Every basketball player knows that. You can't marry her. One day you hang up the jersey and you walk off into the light. That's it. It's over. Can't play forever. Basketball is finite. So it was less me saying like, oh, I'm towards the end of my career, and more like, this is going to end someday. And I know that. I better start now figuring it out. And I was just really into Travel Channel, food, culture, unscripted. I wanted to host culinary travel television. And I started really shooting a lot of stuff when I went to Israel. Then I tore my ACL, moved back home. And then, I don't know, and then the next year, that's right. The next year I was in Siena. When I was in Siena, I started working at that butcher shop.
Yeah.
My brother was visiting with me. My brother, who was traveling the world at the time, came to visit me in Siena, which is in Tuscany. And in between Siena and Florence, which is in the region of Tuscany, is the Chianti region. It's where all Chianti wine, specific wines that are called specific things, can only be called Sangiovese, Cannonau, whatever, because they are grapes grown in that specific soil in that specific area. You can't grow Valpolicella in California. You can't, because it's grown in Valpolicella, right? So Chianti, which is a very famous wine, the Chianti region.
Silence of the Lambs.
Yes. I ate his brains with Chianti. Yes,
yeah,
and fava beans.
Right.
Do you know why that is?
No. Why?
Because there is a disease, the medicine for a specific disease you are not supposed to consume with alcohol or fava beans, because there's a chemical compound in fava beans that messes up this medicine.
G6 or something. Yeah,
Hannibal Lecter said I ate his brains with fava beans and a nice Chianti, saying that he was on this medicine and didn't care about it. Amazing deep cut.
That's
amazing.
Cool. I like that.
So Chianti wine. So my brother said, there's this really famous butcher shop in Chianti run by this guy. He's an 8th generation butcher. We should go visit him. Sure. I never heard of it. Let's go. So we get in my little, tiny Mercedes-Benz rental car that they gave to me for the year. We're in the winding hills of Chianti, going with all like the cypress trees, type in Italy on Pinterest. That's what you see. And we get up to this butcher shop, and this butcher shop is 250 years old in this hilltop village of 200 people. And we walk in, and there he is, sharpening his knives. And he's up on this pedestal. And I'm going to boil this story down for brevity, but me? He's all in Italian. He doesn't speak English. Me? Yeah, you come here. Come here. Let me see your hands. My hands? Okay. Wow. You have butcher hands. Butcher hands? You're a basketball player? Yeah. When your season's done, you come stay in my house. I'll teach you how to debone cows. And as a payment, because people would do this as like an honor, you work in my steakhouse at nighttime. Yeah, sure. So my season finished, a few months later. And I stayed in this guy, Dario Cecchini's house. And every morning at 7, you wake up and you go to this butcher shop with Orlando and all the butchers. Excuse me. We're going to edit that out. And I would debone cows, antique Tuscan butcher style. And I would learn how to make all these ancient Tuscan family recipes, butcher recipes in the off season. I stayed with this guy for like a month and a half, and they became my family. And anytime I had a long weekend or off time or an off season, I would go and live and work at the butcher shop. I don't have any family in Italy, so they kind of became my family, and Dario became kind of like my uncle. This was 2016. And then Dario's Chef's Table episode came out, and he blew up. Like the streaming service that this Chef's Table is on.
That shall remain nameless.
This shall remain nameless. Strike. They were like, you need to build more tables for your restaurant. Your restaurant's going to blow up. And they did. They built another story because of this show coming out. And it's like, it's incredible. They're busy year round. And Dario is amazing. He's a judge on MasterChef. He's probably the most famous butcher in the world. I mean, 8th generation, 250 years old butcher shop. It's crazy. And that's where my affinity for food really started. And, Dario knows a lot of people in the food industry. So I don't know. And then, that was a thing. That was definitely a thing. But every time I would go to Los Angeles in the off season to pitch this show, the meetings went the same. You're not famous enough. You don't have a following. You're stuck between an NBA player and a best-selling chef, but you're neither. You can't sell you. You can't. If you were Kevin Durant and you want to do a travel show, that's amazing. I would watch that. Kevin Durant. The idea was for me to go to all these different cities around the world and go to the local basketball court and play basketball with locals, and then be like, hey, where do you guys eat around here? Oh, my cousin has a whatever. And then you go and you get in the kitchen, and food is the glue. No one's watching that show of Dane DiLiegro. Basketball travels with Dane. No. Basketball travels Kevin Durant. I'm watching that. So it's funny. I didn't have enough big enough following. So that's when social media became important to me. This was 2017 now. That's when I changed my Instagram to DD.
Yep.
Kelly Olynyk, who I met in the Celtics locker room in 2014, because they brought me in for a summer. His agency helped me get that Instagram. They verified me back before it was valuable. And that's when I really started focusing on social media and getting a following and producing content and stuff. And that's where Adventure Monday came from, which started on Snapchat. Then it went to Instagram stories. Then I bought an expensive camera and brought it to YouTube. I did 8 episodes my final year playing in Forlì, Italy. And I was really producing content, good stuff. I mean, Italy shoots itself. You go around, get lost on Monday.
Mhm.
We were sponsored by Land Rover, so I had this like discovery. I would beat the out of it, and I would just film everything and go find a restaurant, talk to the chefs inside the restaurant, and get lost. And it was amazing. It took me 9 hours to edit a 10-minute video.
Yeah. I mean, one, people don't realize how much
It's
editing
crazy.
takes. Two, I literally, no lie, watched every episode you were putting it out, and
They
I
were
felt
so
guilty every
long-winded.
single time
That's all right.
about I didn't get that video done. But they were really fun to watch. They really were.
I mean, my storytelling got tighter, like as I went with each one, and I would Bobby. I was I would be like driving these like cliffside Italian streets in my car while flying a drone next to my car, filming the car. So I'm steering a drone and I'm driving my car with my knee. Yeah, crazy. It was incredible, really. And I still, it's like interesting. You create content like those live forever.
Yeah.
Those are there. What's funny now is now that I've been in some productions, I've like had meetings where they're like, "Oh yeah, we'd love to have you on our show because you've done it."
Yeah.
Like full circle. I went a different route. It's like now I do have a following. I do, and people are like, "Oh yeah, you could definitely host." Yeah. Oh really? That's all it takes. But yeah, and then my final year playing, I really wanted to go to Tokyo. I wanted to play in Japan, and I hired a Japanese agent. She was actually Italian, but her market was Japan. This woman named Deborah, and she strung me along. I flew out to LA for this like Japan tryout. I was really close with like Shibuya and I think Osaka, and then she went on vacation, and I had turned down some Italian teams from my Italian agent, and I'm like, Deborah, please don't talk to me. I'm on vacation. I haven't signed yet. What is going on? That ended that really fast. I didn't sign until February of that year, and I ended up signing back to the team that I was with the year before. But I got to tell you, 9 months at home with my parents as a 30-year-old was trying for me. I worked with Stevie Haley.
Yep.
BC Worcester Academy. I mean, 5 days a week. I'd wake up, I'd go to Mike Boyle in the morning, and then I would train with Stevie at Boston College, at BU, at Harvard. I mean, I put up shots in every gym every day. I had never, I thought I separated my labrum I tore my labrum in my shoulder. I was shooting so much by the end of it. And my PT guy was like, just stop shooting for a week. You'll feel better. And that's exactly what happened. But I was working so hard. And then in February, I finally signed. And then that took a lot out of me, I would say. Dealing with the stress every day of like, am I going to sign? What's going on? I was in great shape. And like, when I came back, it was like every team that didn't sign me, they were BU to me. And I played really well. But yeah, that was year 8, 2019. And I was just that summer training for the next season. Yeah. I mean, should I go into the next stage?
Yeah. I mean, I was going to ask how you made that decision, how you came to that decision to move on.
It found me
from basketball. So how that happened. And did you know when you were playing your last game that it was your last game?
Nope. I was training for the next basketball season. This is summer of 2019.
Oh, I mean, it was COVID after that, though, right?
Yeah, but we didn't know. We didn't know at the time because March 2020 is when COVID started.
Right.
I was just training for the next basketball season. I think I averaged like 12 and 8 that past year. Decent numbers, good enough numbers.
With a passport, that's enough to get you another.
Sure.
Yeah. Even without a passport, playing at that level as an American, that's enough to get you another.
Yeah. And a few years before, I answered a newspaper ad I saw put out by Boston Casting for Slender Man, as well as another one for like X-Men, this X-Men movie they were shooting. And I got a phone call from Boston Casting in 2019, and they said, we're shooting this movie with Ryan Reynolds. We need you as a stand-in. You're the tallest guy we know on our list. We need you as a stand-in. Can you come down to Weymouth to this movie set and be a stand-in? I said, sure. And I hung up the phone. I Googled as a stand-in. Do you know what a stand-in is?
No, I don't.
Yeah. It's like, it's so funny how do you know what a stand-in is? Oh, you do.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, like Boston, just like entertainment stuff is just not in the ethos, like on stage, on set things. A stand-in is like, because the main actors shan't stand there while they're setting up lights and cameras, someone similar to them in height and like skin complexion stands there while they set up the lights and the camera. Because in between these scenes, the main actors go back to their seats and rest.
Who are you standing in for? You're 6'8".
In this movie, there was a massive man who was my height. It was
Colossus or something.
Yeah, he was a 2.0 version of this character. And so I Googled what a stand-in was, and I went down a set, and they never used me.
Mm-hmm.
And as a stand-in, you're not an extra. You're right there on set in the action, really close to the main actors and the producers. And I remember standing there at Video Village, and I just started talking to like the stunt coordinator and the producers, and like they were like, you should look into acting. You got a great look. Excuse me. Yes, you're tall, but you're like proportionate, you should look into this. Okay. So it was coincidentally next week I was going to LA to do my food show pitch, my annual food show pitch in Los Angeles. And when I was out there, I ended up meeting with some producers and like special effects people. And I ended up booking a show for a major streaming network that shot in Korea. And like this is like within a week of like the idea of acting going across my brain. And I talked to my brother on the phone. I'm like, yeah, what if I just like went to LA for September, October, 2 months just to try this out and see this new thing, sure. Why not? Just, you can always come back to basketball. Great. So I ended up booking that show that shot in Korea, and it was August 9th, 2019. I moved to Los Angeles, and I got this temporary apartment, tiny old apartment in West Hollywood. I'm only going to be there for 2 months. Go to Korea. I'm only supposed to be in Korea for a week. Me and this other guy were supposed to share this role on this show, this Korean dude. And I was kind of like the stunt double. He couldn't handle the costume. And he didn't even make it to like the first, like the show and tell. You put on the costume and you go in front of the director for the first time. The director sees you in costume for the first time and they go, oh, this is great. Can you fix this? He passed out. He couldn't even handle the show and tell. And I was like, oh, I'll do it.
Because the costume was too hot? Or
yeah, it was a full makeup, prosthetic makeup, and it was an 80-pound foam latex costume. It was like this mutated bodybuilder. And this dude, I can see the image of, he was on his back in the makeup room smoking a cigarette. He couldn't handle it. He just couldn't handle it. It was too much for him. And okay, I'll do it. So they put me in the costume, and then
how long did it take for them to put you in the costume?
This wasn't that bad. This was just like gluing one thing on my face and then painting over. So it was about an hour. Other things I've done have been up to like 6 hours, but this wasn't that bad. Mostly just a suit. And then so I was only supposed to be there for a week. I ended up being there for like a month and a half. I ended up doing all of it, and I get back. I was like, oh, this is cool. And they're like, yeah, you're really good at this. I was like, great. And I remember my agent at the time was like, okay, if you're going to do this full time, you need to move here, and we got to get you in like some classes and, whatever. So in my off time, I was like, oh, I need to figure out like a job, So I auditioned and became part of the Waterworld stunt show at Universal Studios.
Okay.
And I auditioned with 200 people. They brought in whatever, like 6 of us. And I got in, and we were training. And then I'll never forget, they were like, oh, we're shutting down Universal for 2 weeks. And that was in March of 2020.
Right.
and you know the rest. 4 years later, I still live in that same apartment. And yeah, I've never done a live show at Universal Studios.
Has the rent gone up in the 4 years?
No, rent controlled.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Oh my goodness.
It's amazing.
That's
And
awesome.
it's still overpriced. It's still overpriced.
Huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. I'm not trying to get tangential, but when you say March 2020, I think back, and when that happened and everything, I was teaching, I was at a school. I really loved it. I felt appreciated by the administration. The first school I ever taught at that I really loved my direct bosses, and everything shut down. And I just remember streets being empty, everything being shut down. But there was this feeling like, hey, we're all in this together for a little bit.
Right.
And then that kind of went away. And then just sheer panic for me. My son was 3 at the time. My oldest, Jack, my youngest, Avi, was not born. He's only 2 now. So, but it was like just fear, panic every day, not really knowing what COVID was about, feeling like, oh my God, like my son is 3. This was his first year of preschool, and then it shut down. And now he's a nervous wreck because there's just interruption to his new routine. And like, I'm not helping him develop. Like, what am I going to do? And I'm teaching remote classes, and he's trying to kill me in the middle of them. And then we just started going to Union Station in Worcester every single day because he loved trains. And we just watched the freight trains go by and the commuter rails. Even before they were open, they were running them back and forth just to kind of keep the engines going, I guess.
Sure.
And like, it was some normalcy for both of us, and it became our thing.
Yeah.
And you gave me this flashback of where I was in life then and what was going on. And so much has changed since then. But like, of just remembering finding some sense of normalcy and being there with my son. But that was, to me, it was like a flashback to that. But too, for you, like, it made me think, like, now, today, do you have to do other work on the side, or are you able to just strictly be an actor?
No. By the way, LA was great. The biking, the cycling was amazing. There's no traffic. You could get anywhere in like 10 minutes. I miss COVID traffic. That was the best. No, I made the promise to myself. So the Waterworld stunt show. So my first ever job in Los Angeles, I worked at Halloween Horror Nights as a scare actor. That was the first thing I did. I did that because, I don't know, I love scaring people, and I just thought it'd be a fun thing to do. I didn't do it for money. The stunt show was the thing. I wanted to learn stage present. That's a stunt show at Universal Studios. The Waterworld show is a 15-minute long take nonstop of a show. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you've ever been on stage.
How many shows a day?
4, 5.
4.
And it's crazy. You have to know the cadence of the show. You have to know the lines. It's a stunt show. There's fire. There's live firearms. There are jet skis. There's a jet boat that I have to drive. I have to shoot a shotgun. I have to hang a person upside down and drop them into this tank. I have to dive over a water skier into this like lagoon, and I have to like miss his head by mere inches. There's a huge fight with like a mallet. I have to know where every person is on this stage at all time. Mm-hmm. If someone falls, if something happens, there's an alternate sequence. It was just, I didn't want to do it. That's why I wanted to do it, because I knew I was uncomfortable, and it was a major learning experience. I was learning stunts. I was learning acting. I was learning stage presence. It was an unbelievable experience. Also, like, free Universal Studios, cut the lines whenever you want. Amazing. I'm a Universal Studios head, So, but no, to answer your question, no, I made the promise to myself, if it gets to the point where I have to work another job, I should probably find something else to do.
Right.
I have a nice basketball-sized cushion from all my basketball money supporting me. Fortunately, when I moved to LA, I took $30,000 out, and I gave that to myself as a present. And the rest of my basketball money, which I haven't touched, I pretend like I don't have it. It's all invested. And I said, I'm not, like, if I turn this 30,000 into $1 million and then go from there. And I haven't had to dip in yet, more or less. We came close to liquidating everything in April of 2020, but No, but no, I'm an actor through and through. I feel like it's a Northeast thing, single track mind. You go to LA, you see a lot of like real estate actors, crypto traders, entrepreneurs, people doing all like different things. Yeah, they own a hamburger shop, and they're a real estate agent, and they trade crypto, and they're promoting parties. I do one thing, and I specialize in that. I'm not like an entrepreneur, jack of all trades, do all this different shit. I just want to focus on acting. And I've been fortunate in my career. I've booked enough roles where I can do that. So yeah, I can't be like a barista or work in a restaurant.
I mean, I will say, so it's a surprise for anyone like America East Conference or any college basketball conference to become like a legit actor where you are. I mean, you were profiled in a bunch of legit publications after the big one that will remain nameless right now. Sure. I think I saw New Yorker, Entertainment, New
York Times.
New York Times, that's what it was. New York Times,
LA Times, Boston Globe, Entertainment Weekly, Variety. The whole run. All of Men's Health.
It's amazing. Number one,
you can say it. Yeah, you can say it. I just can't promote
after starring in Prey as the Predator, which amazing. If some sort of game out in the cosmos of the universe were to happen, you'd be at a size disadvantage to the original Predator. But I think you had a better overall game. I would say you guys were both college basketball players.
Sure.
Rest in peace to
Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah, Kevin Peter Hall.
Yeah, the legend.
But so it's where
it was also Harry and the Hendersons.
That's very true.
Harry, okay.
Yeah. Played at George Washington.
7'2" ballet trained actor.
Okay.
He was
like a move.
Yes.
And I think at this point now everybody realizes it that's seen it, but it was for a long time. He appears outside of the Predator makeup in the end of the first Predator movie as a helicopter pilot, all hunched over, flying that Huey.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is, one, it would be a shock for any basketball college player to become like a legitimate Hollywood actor. But if you were to tell me back then, there's one guy in this America East Conference that is going to wind up being a legitimate like an actor, I'd probably say it was Dane DiLiegro back then.
Really?
I really do. I think you had that from day one, your freshman year, like just that presence in interviews and stuff that like you didn't really see, but not just like poise, but like you were just like a character out there, like larger than life, even in America East.
Interesting.
Conference.
It's funny because they were handing out a lot of Oscars to all the players who would flop off of me and try to draw fouls. A lot of actors in the America East.
I'm not sure if they were flops.
Yeah.
You were good on going through people.
Oh man,
I'm going through.
Who was the dude?
Tommy Brenton.
Tommy. Oh my God, Tommy Brenton. I love Tommy Brenton. If I ever saw him again, we'd have a great conversation. But my God, who was the dude at BU? Like Vilnius or something like that.
Valdis Cerudis.
Valdis Cerudis. That dude drew more fouls off of me. Wow, it was incredible. A lot of acting, and I'd always bend down and hand the Oscar to them.
I disagree. I told dude, you led with the shoulder.
It's a man's game. I would have fared well in Serbia, but it's a man. Wait, what? Valdis Cerudis. That's so funny.
Yeah.
It's funny too, like when things really started picking up for me in that aspect, like the amount of people that just reached out, and like you really get a sense for how worldwide these productions reach, and it was really cool just to hear from everyone, all my Italian people, my international people, and just people from my childhood. And I've played against so many guys. And every year, it's funny, like your 4 years of college, every person on every team. Yep. I can maybe recall less than half of those guys now. Oh, that's right. He was on that, it was a really cool callback to be able to connect with these people again. I think I kept in good touch with Evan Field after. I think he was like going to visit. He played in Malta for a while, but I don't know. It's weird. It really is weird. Like you're doing a variety interview, and for the premiere of this movie, I brought my mom with me, and it was just like, it's just weird,
I got one thing that I had to bring up at some point. I got to ask about your mom, because she's a great lady. Your dad, Frank, is too. I miss interacting with them back in the day. But there was a while where you would give your mom so much grief on Instagram. I was always laughing at the stories that you would post. You had one. I saw one like today of you, but like I hadn't seen them in a while. I've seen a lot of your other stories, but like, did she? Like, is she in on the joke, or
no?
Did she?
That was a lot of that was during the 9-month stretch I was at home when I was trying to get a Japan job. But just like it was funny. Like I was like, I should turn this into a show. Just me getting on my mom's nerves. I don't know. She's like a neurotic Jewish mom. She's the best. But like, you cook on the ceramic countertop, the stovetop. There's one speck of oil, and she would always freak out like, look, you didn't wipe the countertop. And I would always have my phone out, like, what's the problem? If you watch my mom's highlight on Instagram, half the time, what's the problem? What's the problem? Like, you didn't wipe and then she'd look at you. She'd notice that I'm filming her. But yeah, she's like, people love Cheryl. She's an institution. She's a very big staple in my Instagram. I don't like mess with her as much now. But yeah, she's the best.
What did your parents make of when you were like, I think I'm gonna give being an actor? What was their response originally, and then what was their response when you finally started making it?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It kind of dials back to my childhood. Just always supportive of me. There was never pushback. In fact, when the pandemic was going on, because when I was in Korea shooting this show, I had a couple offers from Italy come in, because I hadn't really. I mean, I told my agent, "Hey, I'm going to shoot this show," and blah blah blah. And while I was in Korea, I got an offer to play in Pesaro, Italy. And when I came back, the pandemic happened, and I'm at home. I'm like, God, what should I do? I don't know if you guys remember, but Italy got absolutely destroyed.
Yep, I do remember that.
Like, people were just dying in Italy. And I was on the phone with my dad. And he said, look, move to LA to be an actor. Just go be an actor. Go do it. Don't be anything else. Just go. I was like, okay. So that was like the deciding factor for me to stay in. That's when I was like, became retired essentially, through him. And they love it now. They love it. They love it. Why? Every single restaurant we go into, every line we're waiting in, everywhere we go, my dad's background on his phone is one of my movie posters. My mom's background on her phone is me and her on the red carpet. My sister has 2 kids. My brother just had a child. My dad is an alien, a guy in an alien costume as the background of his phone. You know, remember you see grandparents, look at my grandson, my granddaughter, look how cute. No, they have this thing, everywhere we go, whether it's a waitress or the person scanning our groceries, they let everyone know who their son is. And I'm writing a show about it right now, but like, it's just like, oh my God, you guys got to stop. This is so out of context. But they're so proud. I was down in Cape Cod at our Cape Cod house, and it's on a golf resort. Every single guy that my dad plays golf with goes, oh, here he is. I never met this guy before. There he is, the big actor. Hey, how's it going, man? I heard so much about you. Look at you're a big movie star. Your dad's always bragging about you. What are you doing over here, movie star? How come you're not in Los Angeles there? And I'm like, oh God, Dad, what are you telling these people? And how often are you telling them?
Cool. That's a great story.
That really. Wow. It really is, man. To be able to have that kind of an impact on your parents. That's really, that's really awesome.
But I'm like, Dad, I'm not a party favor, and these people didn't ask you to tell them. You can't just walk into a restaurant and be like, my son is. First of all, I'm not famous. I'm not a famous actor. I'm not like. Have you heard of this movie franchise? No, Dad, they haven't. Stop talking. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Have you seen Prey?
Yeah. Maybe if I'm not around, okay. But like, Dad, I'm standing next to you, man. Come on. I get it. He's proud of me. I would probably do the same thing about my son. But, you know, like I said, it's Boston. There's not a lot of like actors and actresses in our ethos. You know, you go to LA, everyone knows 10 actors and actresses. You know, you got your uncle from Tewksbury. Holy Dane's a movie star now. Holy look at this guy here, you loser. What are you, like, friends with Brad Pitt out there? You gonna go to the Oscar? No, what? Like there's like the grasp of the entertainment industry is so loose here in Boston.
Yeah.
It's like it's fascinating to me, and it's funny too because in LA, you know, with the strike going on right now, the conversations that you have with people are at like stage 4. You know, where are we now in the strike? Since I've been home, you know, I'm home for 2 weeks visiting. I've had like stage 1 conversation like 50 times with people. Oh yeah. Like, and you know, and for here, it's like, you know, LA, it's a barren wasteland. There's no one there. Everyone is in Europe. Everyone is away. There's nothing. The town is dead. There's no one there right now. You know, it's like a ghost town. Life is normal here. Boston, there's nothing going on. You know, we're having what I like to call the pandemic with the writers. You know, it's a second, you know, pandemic in LA. Here, no one even. Oh yeah, you guys are on strike, aren't you? Oh wow, that's great. Are you a writer? No, I'm in SAG. What the hell is SAG? Screen actor. Oh man, okay. Why are you guys striking? You guys make a lot of money, don't you? You know, yes, but you know, so it's interesting. Like,
it's like, hey, is that when is that going to start interrupting my favorite shows?
Yeah, people don't realize, but yeah, it's interesting and it's scary too because the things that are at stake in terms of the strike are, you know, monumental, and they will pave the way for a long time.
Right.
And I think that's why they're not even negotiating.
I mean, it's, to me, it's so crazy because, I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, but like the fact now that it's literally like on the table is, are they going to just in perpetuity be able to use AI to use people's likenesses and or even write scripts and it's just costing legit human beings creative jobs. It's, you couldn't, I mean, imagine it outside of like a sci-fi film being written back when I was in high school, but like it really, there is, I think, so much at stake that I don't come close to fully grasping it, but I at least understand, like, right now, people are just losing money because of the way streaming works, the way that residuals work or don't work, but like also in the future of literally like the potential, my understanding is like to people like your look, 6'8", you know, and just like have CGI you into all sorts of movies in the background or whatever, and you don't see a dime from that. It's
in my limited knowledge of this, there's there's 2 major factors for me, at least. Number 1 is the AI situation. For me, it's not a matter of if, but when, right? AI, if you let it, can run rampant. And don't get me wrong, I've typed some these AI things for screenplays. They're not bad. They're not bad. Granted, AI doesn't have childhood trauma, isn't capable of like conveying emotion essentially, but like laying out a screenplay and then using someone to like consult over that, like, you know, that's could happen. AI is scary. And I submit that in a few years, you will see likeness agencies popping up. So if someone wants to use your likeness, your voice, your face, or whatever, talk to my likeness agent, and then you will get paid however they use you for whatever. Okay. And then in terms of the writers writing scripts, blah, blah, blah. The big factor, at least for this, why SAG is striking, in my tiny opinion, is a big factor is these streaming companies, right? So, okay. What is Amazon? What's Amazon to you guys? When you think of Amazon on a macro broad lens, what is it?
I mean, it's either where I get stuff quick that may or may not pan out for goods,
a retail company.
Yeah, or
retail.
Or streaming.
Okay, what is Google? Search engine.
Right.
Okay, Apple.
The
technology.
Tech company.
Okay, Netflix. Streaming.
Streaming, right?
Yes, you're correct. But you know what all these companies are? Analytics, information, right? Like Apple TV, Amazon Prime, Netflix, Paramount Plus, whatever. They are tracking age, gender, what you're watching, when you're watching it, how long you're watching it for, how many times you're watching it, where you are when you're watching it. That is all very, very valuable information. Okay. You're getting an age demographic that is watching specific things in specific places. That information is very valuable. If I want to open up a store, I can buy that information and it will help me pinpoint where the best place to open up my business is or whatever. Now, you got to ask yourself, Netflix. Okay. Extraction 2 that just came out on Netflix. Probably a $150 million
Is that
movie.
Ryan Reynolds?
No, that was Chris
Thor,
Hemsworth.
yeah.
Okay, Hemsworth.
$150 million movie. Now you ask yourself, why would Netflix put $150 million into this movie? There's no ticket sales. Why? Like, where's the payoff, right? Well, you say subscription rate, but you can't, there's no metric there because maybe people do subscribe because this movie came out, but you don't know that other people can subscribe during that time. There's no metric of like, they subscribed because of this, because of that. Now, what you've never seen is one of these streaming companies release their viewership or subscribership. Why? Because it's a card game. They don't want any other of these information analytics companies to know their numbers. Let's take that even further. Residuals, which is maybe the paramount factor here.
How many seasons before residuals? Is it 6?
One.
Oh, it's just one.
One. Yeah. I was in a show on Hulu, a very popular show. And yeah, after I was in 2 episodes and a year later, I got my residuals check.
Okay.
But that was also on a major network. That's why I got to check. If you are, so I could be wrong a little bit with this. 15 years ago, when Netflix was a DVD rental company, 20 years ago, they were like, oh, let's start a studio. So they made a deal with SAG-AFTRA. They said, well, we're a little DVD company. We have a tiny little studio. We shouldn't have to pay residuals because we're a little Netflix. So they created this thing called new media. New media is streaming, right? Disney Plus, Paramount Plus, all of that. SAG, from what I'm aware of, I think they agreed to do, you don't have to pay residuals on new media. Okay. Well, now Netflix is Netflix.
Yep, everything's being made for the media.
And everyone else has this kind of Netflix clause in their contracts that if it's new media, you don't have to pay residuals. So if you star in a $150 million movie, let's say Netflix gains 2.5 million subscribers when this movie comes out. So what is it, $40 a year for Netflix, something like that, $70 a year, multiply that by 2.5 million.
Probably more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah.
You're not seeing a cent of that. That's not cool.
Right.
The issue here is in order to give out residuals, you have to release your viewership numbers. Residuals are based on box office. How many people went to go see this movie? That's how you calculate the metric of residuals or DVD sales or whatever. They don't have to release those numbers. So you have an immovable force meeting an unstoppable object right now. The actors want residuals on these streaming platforms, but it's not that the streaming platforms won't give them residuals. It's just they're not going to release their numbers.
So this new movie with Chris Hemsworth,
Extraction.
Sure. Okay. So did that hit the theaters or no?
No, straight to Netflix.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that's the big thing. So much is being made straight to, or even if it's going into the theaters, the theater, the streaming services are really. I mean, movie theaters are kind of on life support, and that makes me sad because I used to love going.
Yes, I mean there are some movies that are doing well. I mean, I was in another, major Disney movie, a Marvel movie that came out this year that did really well. you know, that still exists, but like you kind of wonder, like, why would Netflix put 150 M's into this movie? It's not even hitting theaters, and there's literally no payback because they're not. There's no advertisements during these Netflix things. So that you're like, how is Netflix making money back on a $150 million investment? Whereas you could go to the theaters and, you know, Barbie just hit $1 billion, right? So there's a metric there.
Yeah.
Netflix, there's no metric.
And I'm not saying that movies can't do well there, but it's like even the ones that are going to theaters and are doing well, they're still losing probably some of what they would make before, you know, streaming services were a thing because people are waiting. I mean, it happens to me all the time where it's like, you know, I'll wait till that comes out. Or I really love the movie experience, but it's expensive, you know, with popcorn and seats and everything. And
I thought Barbenheimer was great.
Yeah.
I thought that whole standoff, the battle between black and pink and like the whole buzz around that. I thought like that. I'm like, this is great. Movie theaters are booming right now. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't, for the first like week and a half of that movie, you couldn't get into a movie theater to see Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I go see movies alone. I had to go to so this is interesting. IMAX, true IMAX is 70 millimeter. There's only like 12 true IMAX screens across the country. And Universal Studios has one. And I booked the only single seat available in this theater, like on the day it came out, was in the second row in the middle. Man, it took me 5 minutes to get one side of the screen to I have to watch it again because I only could see what was going on one side screen. It was massive. It was amazing. But the buzz, like the lines down the street for both of these films that were so like the context was just so different.
Yeah.
Barbie and like the Manhattan Project. Yeah. You know, it's like death and dolls, right? And I was like, oh, this is fucking great. I thought it was great. But yeah, it's the whole new media thing is interesting. And these things that they're discussing now, especially with AI, because there are no guidelines for AI right now. So they're laying the groundwork for the future of AI. That's a big deal. And the studios don't want to give anything up because if they give away things now, they might not ever get them back. Same thing with the viewership. So, you know, I think we are 100 days into the writer's strike. I think maybe we're 30 days into the actor's strike. You know, I'm hoping December. I'm hoping. I just don't know. I don't know if it's going to end then. I don't even think they're negotiating right now. They met up on Friday and they were like, do we have anything to talk about? No. Okay. And the studios don't care. You know, Amazon, you think Jeff Bezos cares that Fran Drescher's mad at him?
Well, he sold Amazon, didn't he?
I mean, I think he's I don't know. I'm a little confused. He's no longer the CEO. I think he still makes a ton of money off
of course.
Yeah.
Do you think Ted Sarandos, the guy who's running Netflix, cares? Yeah. No, he's doing just fine. And they make all this money. You know, they're gonna wait. There was like the executive, his like thing leaked. He was like, we're gonna wait till like everyone's leases
people are like
up.
losing their houses and stuff. It's awful.
It's terrible.
Wow.
And what's really crazy, SAG actors. I think there's 150,000 SAG members. I don't know how many are active. Maybe let's say 50,000 are active members. Something like 80% of these actors don't even make the SAG Health money, which is $26,000. You have to make $26,000 a year through SAG to make the health insurance. About 80% of these actors aren't even making that. So you talk about like getting another job and this and that. Living in LA is not cheap. It's expensive. I mean, I spend over $26,000 in rent
just
a year.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And these studios are like, oh, let them rot. That's tough.
Par for the course, though. That's our country.
And I mean, it is really people don't realize about, because they think, Hollywood, whenever that the average actor is really struggling and grinding. And this is really threatening people's not just livelihoods but lives. You lose housing, you can't put food on it. Like that's your life. I mean, I feel bad. I had these questions I wanted to ask you about movies and stuff, but it's like not about even your movies, like but it just seems like the levity of asking about it is in the face of what's really going on. You know, when you were talking about going to movies alone, it's like that's something that I have loved to do in the past. And I was going to ask you for your favorite area movie theaters in the area, but now it's like that's such a
here,
thing. Yeah,
like in Boston.
Yeah, because you grew up here. Where do you have any longtime favorite? I mean, literally the little theater in Lexington.
Yeah, Lexington. It's not called the Flick anymore.
Yeah.
I saw Kill Bill 2 there once. Yeah, I mean, I've always loved movies. For me, it was rentals that were a big deal for me. I only really started going to movies alone when I moved to Los Angeles and really got into it. And now, you know, I watch a lot of horror. When things come out, I will go and just get inspired. Sometimes when I go see movies by myself, movies that I really like, I would have loved to be in, it kind of stresses me out a little bit. And I'm like, I gotta work harder.
Yeah, what do I do to get in there?
You know, what do I, you know, why didn't I see an audition for this? Or what do I have to do? You know, I'm texting my manager after, you know, we gotta get in touch with James Cameron. I don't know, James Cameron. I don't care. I want to be in the next, you know, whatever. And it's like, there's really nothing like being on set. It's such a special thing. You know, it's like I said, being on the basketball court, you're just surrounded by these super, super talented people coming together. It's a big, giant jigsaw puzzle, and everyone's there for a reason, and everyone is an intricate piece, and you watch it just come together, this one common goal to make a great picture. And you're watching these people who studied for years and are artists, lighting, electrics, grips, stunts, camera operators. I mean, you'll be on a project, and you can have 3 camera operators. Each of those camera operators have assistants. Each of those cameras have focus pullers. So, you know, like you have a camera and you can turn the thing to adjust the focus.
Right.
Focus pullers have their own monitor, and they're sitting there, and they have a little dial that they pull. So if I move forward or backward, they have to be able to follow me and keep the focus on me, because a lot of movie cameras don't zoom. You have an 85 macro or 135, whatever, and the focus changes. And like it's crazy how many people are involved in making a film and how slow it is. I mean, so like, let's say we're in a movie right now and we're shooting. So for me, what's called coverage, okay? You have to have all 200 crew members behind you, Sam, right? 1, 2, 3 cameras, okay? Lighting, perfect for me because it's OTS, it's over the shoulder for you. And when we shoot all your stuff, all this camera equipment, all this lighting, all these grips and electric has to move now to my side on a big giant soundstage. Now we're just sitting. Imagine a fight scene, right? And you have to shoot it from 3 different angles. And there's a million things going on. And there's fire, and there's stunts, and there's cars.
So John Wick must have been
crazy,
impossible to make. My
crazy,
gosh,
unbelievable.
Wow.
The amount of those like stunt movies.
Yeah,
you know, the Mission Impossible movies, Jason Bourne, it's insane what goes into those. And you know, my friends worked on the John Wick movies, and like just like the angles that they're getting, and like how clever. You know, on top of that, now you have to deal with producers and money and time, and I don't know, you're in Bulgaria and something's not working. It starts raining. The sun is not out. You have 15 minutes until golden hour. Golden hour is when that sun is just at the perfect right light. And you have 15 and it's gone. You have an actor who's unruly. There are so many factors that come in, and like so many things that can go wrong. A generator goes out, a forklift stops working, whatever. You know, you're setting up for a stunt. If you have someone on wires, there's like a lot of science that goes into the wires because you have someone pulling them, or maybe you have a hydraulically driven ratchet that launches them in the air. But you have to test that with a sandbag before. You have to have them in a jerk vest. You have to someone is doing the science for all of that. Right. The timing has to be right. Someone gets hit by a car. Maybe glass. Anytime glass breaks, that's a reset of whatever, 30 minutes. Maybe you only have 3 panes of glass. You can only get 3 tries at it. It's crazy. And you're watching all of this.
Have you had a chance to meet any actors who just said, you know what, I appreciate the work you did?
Yeah.
Any
Oh,
famous?
sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice.
100%. And like, those are the people I want to work with. Drop out. Oh, I'm back. Is that my light that I'm talking too much?
No. That was, I bumped something.
And like similar to a basketball team, I had no business playing professional basketball. Let's be honest here. Right. But I was on teams because I made other people look good and I was really good at it and I didn't complain about it. Right. So I knew my job. Like you're on set, let's call it, for 95 days. You're doing 16-hour days. A lot of time you're shooting nights. What is nights? It means your day starts at 7 p.m. 7 p.m. to like 7 a.m. It's cold. It could be snowy. It could, God forbid, you're shooting a rainy scene and they have the rain machines going on and you're just getting soaked every take after take after take. The people that you are surrounded by, whether it's a locker room or a trailer, are so vital to the common goal of success. Making a good picture, winning a championship is so vital. I would rather be surrounded by people who are like just a little less talented, but are great to be around, than a bunch of uber talented people who suck to be around, if that makes sense. Now, I've had the fortune of being involved with mostly projects that are just people who are talented and great to be around for the most part. And it just makes it that much better. And it's like, man, it really is like a drug. I find like a lot of my friends in Los Angeles, they like to go out to the bar, to the club, whatever, make it rain, like, you know, all these stupid, unnecessary things. And I always find myself there. I'm like, I just wish I was on set working right now. And I know that's a little obsessive. I know it's a little workaholic minded, but like, I just love creating good, telling really cool stories with great people. Yeah. And there's nothing like it. And then you put in all this time and effort, all this work, and then it's done. It's like a basketball, man. You like post-production depression is a very real thing. For 90 days, you have this super important responsibility. You're held accountable. You have to show up on time. 250 people are depending on you for this thing every day. And it's done.
Yeah, I was reading something about Angelina Jolie was talking about post-production depression. Yeah.
Same thing, you know, basketball season, you're leaning against a wall for 10 months and you're fighting this thing and you're going, you know, health and staying healthy and winning and keeping your numbers up and making everyone happy and dealing with your coach. And then you're in the middle of a field and you're just like, it's like Elysium in the Gladiator, you know, it's like, what is going on right now? Now you have you like questioning your purpose. It's existential at this point. And same thing when you end a production. If you don't have another project after you end a big project, you're like floating, and it's like you're like, oh, you question so many things about your life. It's scary, but it really is crazy. And then you crave, and then you have to wait a year. So you do this project, all this cool. Then you can't talk about it. You can't show pictures. You can't post anything. It's, you know, if you're on something that's super secret, super NDA, like some of those high studio things, can't do anything about it. Can't talk, whatever. And then it comes out. It's like, oh my God, that's right. I forgot about all this stuff. And then you get praised. And it's like, it's just, you see all the hard work that of all the people that you were there with for so long, it finally pays off. Good movie or bad, good show or bad, whatever. You know, I've been fortunate. I haven't really been on any bad productions. All of the things I've been in have done relatively well. And it's just so gratifying to see the payoff. You know, people come up to me, I loved it. I really loved it. I'm like, honestly, thank you. Because when we were shooting it, I had no idea of what this was going to be like. And you're just such a small piece in this giant puzzle. And it's so important to remember that. But you create this body of work, and it's there, and then it lives. It's there forever, and no one can take it from you. And if you're one of the lucky ones to be in like a really, really good big movie, it's like a championship. No one can ever take that from you. You can't say to Shaq. Why? Because he's won so many championships and he has so many accolades, and you can't take it from him. Nothing. It's,
yeah, he'll let you know.
And he'll let you know.
Yep.
He'll let you know.
I can't imagine the letdown after, because I remember at my athletic career, petered out and didn't reach the level of yours, and,
Sure.
and way earlier you were talking about if you go back and talk to yourself. I have so many things I would say to myself when I was, away my pro career. But I can't imagine that kind of letdown after you put so much into a production and then it comes to an end. Did you say earlier that you were working on writing something kind of based on the situation with your mom?
Sure.
That really piqued my interest.
I'm putting some things together. I'm definitely not a screenwriter, but I'm working on some stuff. It's very early stages.
I feel like you have to play yourself. I mean, there's not many 6'8" Jewish guys anywhere, let alone in Hollywood, I don't think.
Yeah, I submit that it won't be me. I will be in it, most likely. The character won't be Dane. It'll be someone else. And it will probably be based on, a lot of times these based on a true story, it's still Hollywood, man. You gotta embellish a little bit and kind of make it a story and make it compelling. I'm interested in writing. I'm interested in producing. I still think that is along that strata of acting. I don't think I'm becoming like a real estate agent or a crypto trader. It's still within that entertainment realm for me. But it just dials back to me doing shit that makes me uncomfortable and that I don't want to do, but I know it's good for me, I guess. But yeah, I have a lot of downtime right now, so I am putting some things together. And I've read enough scripts where I know how to structure a script myself, I suppose.
I'm curious, and this has got to be the longest one of these we've done. It's such an epic,
we go Joe Rogan. I don't care.
It's such an epic conversation. It's
fine with me.
But I'm curious because maybe I don't know what you can and can't comment on because of the strike. I know you can't anything you've been in, but I don't know historically if you can do right now your 5 favorite movies of all time. Or
sure.
Because I'm curious about favorite movies of all time. If you were to
Heavyweights on Disney. It was all the guys from Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, I remember. I've seen that a million times.
That's a nostalgic movie for me. Back to the Future.
Another really solid
Number
one.
2, especially. Jurassic Park.
Which one?
Jurassic Park, the first one is really great. I actually just I filmed a project with DeWanda Wise. We were down in New Orleans about a month and a half ago. She was in Jurassic World Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
She was the airplane pilot.
Okay, yep.
She's great. She's very, very talented actress. Chef, probably.
That's a great one.
Yeah, in that range. And then the Blair Witch Project.
Oh man.
You lost me on that one. I couldn't do that one.
I remember when that came out. I remember it was such a big thing, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, it's so new!" And I went and saw it, and I got so nauseous from the camera work. I had to go out into the hallway for 10 minutes and
found
then go
footage.
back in.
That genre is called found footage.
Found footage.
Yeah, because it's first of all, it's the movie itself is great. It's amazing, but first they had a $30,000 budget. I think they are the number 2 film today, budget to earnings.
Yeah, it was amazing how much they made. I'm not a fan of that.
Sure.
All the others you named, I'm like, yep, they might not be in my top 5, but they're they're up there for different reasons. But that's the one
the thing for me that puts this movie. It's my number 1 favorite horror movie of all time, because similar to Jaws, the way they went about it. Okay, it's 1999. The internet isn't quite out yet. They created this myth. They had people really believing that this shit was real.
Yeah.
They would go to film festivals and put up missing ads of the actors, like really like put these people on the missing persons list. And they worked with like Discovery Channel and created a documentary, a fake documentary about the mythology behind the Blair Witch. And people thought it was real. The way they shot this movie, where they put these 3 actors in the woods, and every day they'd find a milk crate with a film canister, and inside the film canister gave them prompts of what their character is doing that day. The rest was up to them. They were at the end of the movie, they returned the camera equipment to lower the budget even more. And this went viral.
Yeah, it was viral before going viral was a thing.
Exactly.
Before social media. Like it is in hindsight really
And the
amazing.
actors filmed it, which is crazy. And people to this day, some people still don't know that it's not real. On top of all of that, I'm going to ruin it for you, Bobby. The movie's terrifying. You never see her. You never see the Blair Witch once.
I know.
It's like Jaws. You don't see Jaws till the end of the movie. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
For me, the most effective horror movie of all time is Jaws, because people didn't go swimming that year in the ocean. People did not go swimming.
People didn't go swimming, and then for the next 30 years, like they were culling shark populations because of the terror they were in. I mean,
I'll tell you what. Here's what I can't talk about: A24, because A24 is a studio that is abiding by SAG's rules for actors. They are shooting things right now, and you can talk about and promote their movies because the things they are shooting right now is abiding by SAG's what they want. A24 just put out a movie called Talk to Me. Have you heard of this?
No.
Oh my God. The 2 directors, Daniel and Michael, these Australian YouTube brothers, made this movie called Talk to Me. And it is everything that horror should be. It is fresh. It is new. It is not a sequel. It is so expertly shot. The story is so compelling and deals with issues of grief and paranormal shit. And it's all, there's no big names in it. And the movie is just tight. And it's a fun ride. I've already seen it twice in theaters. I went to the premiere. It is so good.
Talk to me.
Talk to me. I will pay for your movie tickets if you go see this thing. It's so good. It's about these, they have this hand that if you touch it, these spirits go inside of you. And you can only, you get 90 seconds and then you have to let go of the hand or else the spirits stay inside of you. But they wield this thing at parties like it's a drug. They strap you into the chair and you hold the hand and you say, talk to me, and goof happens. Your eyes turn completely black and all this stuff. Things spin out of control and go wrong. Oh man, it's the best horror movie I've seen in the past 5 years, maybe 10. It is so good. And A24, that they're like my favorite studio. I want to work with them so bad. Everything they put out is gold. They did Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay, yep.
But they did Hereditary. They did Hereditary and Midsummer.
What's the movie with Sandra Bullock in?
That's Bird Box.
Bird Box. Oh, I love this.
Yeah, that's not A24.
No, okay.
That's another streaming service who used to be a DVD company, but yeah. But I like just everything A24 is doing right now. Incredible. They're doing the new Crystal Lake, the Friday the 13th TV show that's in development right now.
There's a Friday the 13th television show.
It's in development. It's on the way.
Wow.
It's gonna be good. Jason Voorhees is my favorite horror icon of all time, the hockey mask.
Oh yeah.
Is there, and I don't know if this is something you mentioned, but is there a character for
Jason Voorhees?
I was gonna say that you would want
in terms of non-human characters.
Yeah.
Jason Voorhees is probably number 1 for me.
Candyman used to scare
oh yeah, Tony Todd.
And then another question that I have is do you have, are there, if I was to be like your favorite all-time actors, do you have some?
Pierce Brosnan, probably number 1.
I knew that, by the way. I did.
I idolized him as a child.
Yeah, I remember that. It was it wasn't a basketball player, and it was Pierce Brosnan was your idol as a kid. But
I wanted to be a spy because he was James Bond, obviously, and then I was like, oh, he's an actor. I can be a spy and other things. That's cool. I really like Pierce Brosnan. I like Chris Pratt. I like Chris Pratt right now. I you know, I've met him before. He's a really nice dude, and I just think like, you know, he's been on some podcasts and I've listened to his stories, and I just think he's a great all around guy. And he's from Hawaii, and he like used to work in restaurants and stuff, and he's one of those guys that like gives off. It's like I'm kind of not supposed to be here, but I'm having fun type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I think Jason Momoa is cool.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like his brand, I suppose. But I don't know. I and you know, right now for me, the guy that means the most to me, I would say, is Dave Bautista.
Right.
Similar track to me. Granted, I don't have the following that he has coming from wrestling, but he is defying sizeism right now. You look at a guy like Batista, who is massive. He's 6'4", which is tall enough, but he's like 260, 270. And he's specifically, at this point right now, he's just like, I want to play roles that people say I can't. And he wants to tell really cool stories, and he wants to play really compelling characters. And I can't tell you, as a tall dude who's 6'8", how many people in this town tell you, you can't do this because you're too tall. And he's just defying that. He's using his platform and, you know, his presence in, you know, his superhero franchise that he was in helped him out immensely. And he's a great actor. And I really feel for what he's doing and what he's pursuing. And it means a lot to me. And I see him and I'm like, God, I really want to do what he's doing. And I'm like, I'm very envious is not the word, but I'm like, you know, I'm deeply struck.
And how many tall guys are there? There's you, there's Batista, there's Vince Vaughn, who you don't see anymore.
Vince Vaughn, I love his career as well. Jacob Elordi, 6'7". Nicholas Braun is another guy who's 6'7". He's in the show. He's in a show that I can't mention, I guess.
There was one guy can I mention a show?
Yeah, you're not in
Game of Thrones.
Oh, The Mountain.
Yeah, The Mountain.
Yeah, The Mountain.
He's like 6'8". He was a bodybuilder.
He's a big guy. Yeah. Okay.
I remember it's so funny before you made it, and I actually hit him up and was like, and I told you should have. But someone that both of you know.
Sean McNally.
Oh, no, I was going to say someone who both of you know who's not an actor, but we were always like.
Nick Billings.
Yep.
No, he's an actor.
Yeah, I mean, he is a different guy. But we.
I knew it. How did I know that?
When they were casting, they were looking for someone to play Chewbacca in some, because the actor that played him for the longest time was, it was
Peter Mayhew.
Yeah, Peter Mayhew was starting to have, he just couldn't health issues. And they were looking for someone like 6'10" or above, and we were like,
how tall is Billings? 7'1"?
7'1", yeah. And we were like, Nick, man, you gotta go. He's a sci-fi nerd. He's everything. We were like, and he was like, yeah. He never did. And then now, once you started making it, I was sending him all articles about
what did he
Predator.
Say?
Oh, he just got pissed off.
Really?
No. I mean, he was like, he thought it was awesome that you were the Predator, but he was like, man, I missed my shot. I was like, yeah, you did.
Well, it's funny. The guy that got to fill Peter Mayhew's spot is a kid named Eunice, who's a Finnish basketball player.
Okay.
And they put out like a Europe-wide casting call for Chewbacca. And what they did was they got in touch with the national team coaches across Europe. So the Finnish basketball team, there was something about Peter Mayhew's eyes were spaced a specific distance, and they had to have blue eyes. And this kid Eunice fit the description. I think he's like 6'11".
Yeah.
Peter Mayhew is like 7'3" or 7'2". But this kid Eunice, his eyes were spaced perfectly, and he probably went through a crazy amount of rounds of auditions and callbacks and stuff like that. But yeah, can you imagine getting that phone call from your national team coach? And I'm willing to bet for the first 3 rounds they didn't even tell him what it was.
Yeah.
So he just was like, "What is this? This is stupid and crazy." And then they revealed that to my friend Spencer, who's a UK champion kickboxer, who's 50 years old. He's 6'7", 250. He was Vader in the last one of the last Star Wars movies, and he didn't know what it was. Like they wouldn't tell him. And by the third callback, he was like, "This is definitely Vader." And he was like, he told me when he got the role, the measures that they went through to like protect him on set, they would like put him in this cloak and then put him in like a car, an SUV to drive him like 15 feet. And then they would drive the SUV through the building.
What?
Like it down the hallway to get him to set because it was so under wrap. I mean, you get a photo of Vader, man. That's like insane. That's like a paparazzi's dream.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy played Darth Vader and like did the walk and like held the lightsaber. Like
that's one thing that, because it's we're coming up on this has been such a amazing conversation, but also it's like
you got to go to bed.
The young ones, my wife's gonna murder me and all that sort of stuff. But something that I have to ask about that I haven't yet, that you had a post like that everybody missed this, but weren't you the officiant at Kelly Olynyk's wedding?
Yeah, I was. I married him.
How did that happen?
I planted that seed a while ago. When they got engaged, I was like, I'm officiating your wedding. And they laughed, right? Ha ha ha. But I was like, no, I'm serious. I really want this. I want to do this. And I don't think it took Kelly much convincing when he realized he didn't have to pay for an officiant. He got one for free. But he just, he was like, you want to do this? And I was like, sure. That was the craziest weekend of my life. That was August. Okay. I'm going to rehash the story real quick. I'm going to boil it down. That major movie that I was in came out of Friday of last year. Okay. The cast and crew, director, Dan Trachtenberg, myself, Amber Midthunder, Dakota Beavers, we all went to Disneyland that day, which is in Anaheim. I live in West Hollywood. Anaheim, with no traffic, is 45 minutes south of
LA.
Okay. Kelly's wedding is the same weekend. So that this is a Friday. I'm the officiant of the wedding. I have to write the wedding. I have not written it yet. Okay. Meanwhile, so I'm driving down to Anaheim. Kelly's wedding is in San Ynez, which is 2 hours north of LA. Okay. So do the math on that. Keep in mind, it's Friday. I drive down to Disneyland. I do the whole thing with us. We had a plaid, which is like the guide of Disney that you paid 10 grand for, and they escort you and you cut all the lines. You can go wherever you want. It's amazing. Once you do that, you can't do Disneyland any other way.
Right.
It's funny though. I did go to Disneyland with Paula Abdul one time. We had the same publicist, and we're good friends. I love Paula, but we went together. And I was like, should we get a plaid? She was like, no, watch this. And we went to every line, and she would just be like, hi. And they'd be like, come this way. And then we just cut all the lines because it's Paula Abdul. Right. And then we got paparazzi, and that's a whole other situation. But so anyway, okay, up until 11 a.m., I'm doing the whole Disneyland thing with cast and crew. I drive 3.5, 4 hours up to San Ynez. I'm late for this rehearsal dinner that I'm supposed to be conducting. While I'm driving up to San Ynez, I get a Twitter DM from one of the producers of an HBO show about the Lakers.
I messaged him.
That's right. Yes.
I messaged him and said, you need to look at this guy, Dane. He's a legit actor and a legit basketball player.
Jeff.
Yep.
He reached out to me because I think he's a New England guy or something like that. He was like, I want you to audition for these 2 roles. Wow, life is good. My movie came out today. I'm just was at Disneyland. I'm about to officiate one of my best friend's weddings. Now this guy's messaging me about, 2 roles in this really big show. Unbelievable. I print out, it's 12 pages of dialogue, which is a ton. It's 3 scenes per character. It's 12 pages of dialogue to remember is a lot. And you have to send in a self-tape. That's a lot of dialogue. Now, I haven't written Kelly's wedding yet. I'm late to the rehearsal dinner. Tomorrow is the wedding. It's also my birthday. It's also the same weekend my giant major $70 million movie comes out. Like, okay, my phone, it wasn't even fun. My phone was like overheating. I hired an acting coach, which acting coaches are like $250 an hour, to like run me through these scenes. Like, you know, on the Saturday of a wedding, before the wedding, you're playing golf, you're doing all the activity. I was locked in my Airbnb by myself, grinding these 12 pages with this acting coach. Meanwhile, I still have to write Kelly's wedding. Kelly's texting me like, yo, where I need to see what you're going to say. Like, we have to clear it with Jackie, like his wife, like, you have to send me. And I know. I will. He's on the golf course. It was crazy. So I get to the wedding. It worked out. Like it was actually funny because I was in such a good like line memorization mode that I kind of just like, acting is about delivering the message of what the lines say, unless you have a really stickler writer where you have to stick to the lines. So like I was on like the guidelines of this wedding that I wrote. My brother helped me write this wedding, but like I delivered it amazing and it was great. It all worked out. And I eventually shot all the self-tapes, and people were coming up to me after the wedding and like, we want you to officiate our wedding. It was so good. Short and sweet. You keep it funny. You make fun of yourself, you know, whatever, but you keep it charming and cute and it will all work out. And yeah. And it's funny because they got the pictures from like People magazine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did any publication actually put 2 and 2 together?
No.
That's amazing.
No. And they dropped the ball. Yeah, it could have been in People magazine. I was in People magazine, but I wasn't named. But yeah, that was the craziest week of my life. And then I submitted those tapes and they went to producers, which is great. It got through casting, but then I never heard back. And I was like, I was pretty bummed about that.
That's, to me, I mean, that seems like a role you were made for.
That guy, Jeff, I was so confused because I messaged him like, hey, man, what's going on? He's like, oh, I don't know. It's out of my hands. Like, you wrote the book that inspired the show. You should have some, and you reached out to me.
Right.
I don't know. Maybe he was reaching out to other people.
Yeah,
as well.
I don't know. I mean, I know that I've read a bit that it's kind of like, I think he's on, like he wrote the book and that like he's on as sort of like a consultant, but I
he's
do
just like
think
tacked on.
He has, I think, no actual
creative input.
Yeah, power over the.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, and they were good tapes too. I was very confident about them, but yeah, that was like a really big. I was also, yeah, I mean, I was shooting another big production at the time as well. I can't talk about that, but it was a big production. Just life was really crazy a year ago right now.
So I guess what I'll kind of, I guess, close on is, well, I don't want to steal Bobby's thunder if Bobby's got some more questions.
No.
But
Bobby's ready to go.
Yeah.
He's so excited about his new car.
Is
He wants to drive right now. He's jingling the keys.
R.I.P. to the Escalade.
Yeah.
Is one, you know, what are your goals now? I know you had your goals in hoops, and I think you're really one of those rare people that really met them, you know, for the most part. I know you wanted to play in Japan, but like you didn't have to pay for college. I don't think you were a kid that you grew up when you were a little kid dreaming of playing pro hoops, but you were able to do it for almost a decade, get yourself a cushion for the next phase.
Top 10 on Sports Center.
Yep, I remember
Dunked
that.
on Troy Barney's.
You know, yeah, R.I.P. Troy Barney's right there.
But Eric Freed, it was because of him, because he said during the broadcast that I wanted to be on Sports Center. You want to know how that? We'll do this really quick. Before the game, I would always pee in the public restroom because I didn't want to go down to the locker room. So I would literally just, in my basketball uniform, go in the UNH lobby and pee in the public. And I'm peeing in the urinal next to Eric Freed. And I'm like, yo, I just want to let you know. He's like, what do you got for me today? I was like, I'm going to be on Sports Center. I want to be on Sports Center. I've seen John Holland. I've seen all the guys. Yeah. I'm going to do it. He's like, okay. And then I dunked in the game, and he told Frank Sullivan on the broadcast, like, he said he's going to be on Sports Center. And they, we went to the bar that night. It was crazy.
The craziest thing, and I love Troy, you know, he's someone I'm trying to get down on.
We're still, you know, I still follow him on Twitter. But you know, he's great. He's still playing.
I know he is.
He's one of the few of the proud.
He
that are
really
still playing.
is.
Him and John Holland.
But that wasn't the only time you got him in your college career either. It was just like, oh, Troy,
I
don't
had
jump.
like-
Why
I
are you
had-
jumping with Dane?
I had like 4 dunks that game.
yeah, I know. I remember them. Like,
I had 21 and 12. Yeah, that was amazing.
and I think what didn't make it into the highlight because it was all of the he said he wants to be on it is from what I remember on that dunk, you got busted in the mouth on the other end, and then you were
Yeah.
running down and you had like a bloody
It was a
lip,
rebound.
and then
Someone hit me in the nose. My nose was bleeding.
yeah.
And I held my nose with my left hand, and Maine was zoning us. So I was in the dunker spot, and James screened Alvin. Alvin drove to the free throw line, and the help stepped up, and he bounced past it to me. And because I had my blood on my left hand, I just went up with my right and just threw it down with one hand.
Because you were usually a two-handed dunker.
guy.
Yeah.
And that time, it's not even an amazing dunk. I mean, it's a cool dunk. It's one of my better dunks, you know. But yeah, it was just like a one-handed dunk over Troy.
Yeah.
And then it was capped off a run, and it's a timeout.
Yep.
Right.
And then you see like Tyrese Gibbs like chest bumping me, and like, you know, I had the blood on my shirt, but like, yeah, that was. And what's crazy is I think the next week Ronnie had an even better dunk against Albany, and it didn't
make it. That was great.
I'm sorry, Ronnie.
So the question that I was going to ask is you're one of the rare guys I think that you can look back really with for the most part, no regrets. Everybody has some regrets, but on on your career, that's true. But when all is said and done, the next 10 years and the end of your career, the rest of your career, what are your goals now, long term? Yeah. And do you think when all is said and done and you reach retirement age, do you see yourself coming back to the Northeast, to the Lexington area, or do you think you're going to be an West Coast guy?
Great question. So I have a whiteboard in my apartment of the things that I want. There are a number of roles that I think I would fit particularly well. Upcoming roles that I have my mind set on, and I can't mention them right now. One of them I mentioned earlier. I would like to be Jason Voorhees at some point. If they, you know, that would be cool. But that's such a coveted role. Anyway, but for me, my goals, I do want to write a show and star in it, a complete show, 8 episodes, whatever, whether it's a mini series or, you know, whatever. Next year, I want to book, like, because obviously historically I've played non-human characters. I'm really leaning towards human characters right now. I'm taking a lot of classes. I'm studying a lot. I really want to start booking bigger, you know, quote unquote face roles. Mm-hmm. As an actor, your most valuable assets are your face and your voice, because, you know, up until now, without AI, you can't replicate it, duplicate it, replace it.
Right.
You know, Chris Pratt is Star-Lord. No one else can be Star-Lord. You know, I just, when they cover your face, it hampers your storytelling skills. Now, granted, you have to use your skills in other aspects non-verbally, but I really want to start leaning into the human side of storytelling. Like, I tie back into Dave Bautista, just like what he's doing. So that's really what I'm working on. I just want to play really compelling characters that instill emotion upon people, that just tell cool stories. Whether I'm a good guy or a bad guy, protagonist, antagonist. I would like to play a protagonist at some point. I've never played a good guy, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But I really want to expand my storytelling as a human. When I moved to Los Angeles, my 3-year goal was to be on a billboard on Sunset Boulevard, and I made it with 11 days left. And so I guess my 3-year goal beyond that, which now I'm a year in, would be I'd like my face to be on a billboard in Los Angeles. I won't narrow it down to Sunset. Just my face be on a billboard in LA would be great. Not as a measure of like me, look at me, but I just feel like that's a pretty cool ruler measuring stick of like how well I'm doing, you know? Maybe that's a 5-year goal. But I just, I want to get into more compelling storytelling. And there are also like directors that I want to become quote unquote like frequent collaborators with, who call me back and trust me. You know, I talk about being bought into a system. I want to have that with, you know, certain decision makers in the entertainment industry, whether be it producers or directors. I want them to be like, hey, I trust you. I love the way you carry yourself as a professional, and I want you like to be a part of my project. That's kind of my dream and my goal, is to be like wanted to be on the team, you know, because LA is just a huge sea of people trying to make it, and it's hard. It's really difficult to stand out. You know, you're in a room of people. Basketball is different in the sense that like you're in a room with 30 people and they all, who here wants to be in the NBA? You raise your hand. You can go through and go, you can't. No, you probably can't either. You're clearing out the room. Maybe there's one person left that could maybe make it the end of the NBA. They probably won't. Who wants to be an actor? I guess you could. You know, anyone can be an actor, right? You don't need, there's not really a prerequisite. Maybe you have to have a certain look. Acting is hard. It's really, really, really difficult. And this is the final thing I will, you know, finish on. But like basketball, there's a metric. You play, there's a box score, there's a score sheet. You can analyze someone's performance right there at the end of the day. How's he doing? Oh, he had 15 and 12, killed it. Oh, how's he doing this year? Oh, he had 17 and 15. And he used to shoot 12% from three. Now he's shooting 27% from three. Look at that difference. You can throw hard work at this craft and be successful. Acting, you could work harder than everyone else in Hollywood. You could be the best actor in the world and still lose out to someone's nephew, or to someone who's banging someone, or to someone who just got cast because, I don't know, they had a better self-tape, whatever. It's really, really hard. And it's like, the entertainment industry is not necessarily a meritocracy in the sense where basketball, you can just kind of like work hard with a little bit of luck and be successful. Acting, it's like, it's a lot of luck and time and place and like perseverance. Basketball, sports, you're like, it didn't work out. I blew my knee out in high school. I'm kind of done. You got to move on. Acting, it's like, man, 20, 30 years grinding it. Ian McClellan, Gandalf in Lord of the Rings, he didn't have his big break until he was 65.
Right.
That's crazy. How long has he been acting for? You know?
Yeah.
Perseverance. Acting is a thing where you can kind of just work hard and you know, with just sticking to it. I mean, I've been there 4 years and I've seen a lot of people come and go, but I don't know. I'll leave you with this. You work hard and you generally try to do the right thing most of the time. It should work out well for you in the long run. You know, just that's kind of work hard, be persistent, and just try to do the right thing usually. And things tend to work out is what I find. Be a good person, you know? But I don't know. I just turned 35. Like, what am I doing? You know, life is weird. Who thought, you know, like who thought? I never thought I'd be sitting here with you guys 5 years ago.
I know.
Yet here we are, you know, thank you, Wayne.
Yeah. Well, Dane, thank you so much for joining us. This has really been, I think, the most epic conversation we've had on this show since we started. So
you mean Wayne's conversation was like he was talking about, you know, he wasn't talking about being an actor or anything?
No. So thank you, Dane.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
It was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is great.
Awesome.
Time for bed now.